Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to ReelTok episode 141. Today we have a guest, Mr. K Meeks, a recurring guest. You've been on, I don't even know, it was probably episode like 52 if I had to pick a guess of what number it was of the M. Night Shyamalan episode where it looks like a movie podcast coming on and joining the ReelTok Podcast. But glad to have you back. It's been a long time. Seth should be here. Potentially, we'll see. He's, I believe, as we're speaking right now, he's on a bus back from London as his train was canceled. So I think he's going to be here for the episode shortly. But George for sure will not be. He's was at a wedding this weekend. But Seth should be joining soon. But we got Cam, we got K Meeks, and we are going to talk Final Destination Bloodlines, the Final Destination franchise as a whole. Plenty of trailers and movie news this week. Big trailer being, Superman. Movie news. We have Cannes Film Festival going on. Plenty of other stuff being revealed this week. We're going to do a collaborative ranking of the top 10 kills in the Final Destination franchise. I think that should be pretty fun. But as always, shout out to our executive producers. We have Stefan Johnson, Cody Whitney, and Cole Beaver. Thank you for all you guys do for the podcast to keep us rolling each and every week. But with that being said, before we get into the Final Destination episode, let's do what we always do. Go over how we're doing, what we've been watching, starting with our guest, K Meeks. But also, K Meeks, I want you to talk about 10 dates, which I know is a couple days left in the campaign of raising money to try and get funded. So would love to hear your little spiel on 10 dates as well and where people can go and find that and support you for, that movie.
Yeah. I could start with that. So for context, if you don't know who I am, or if you don't know who Owen is, who is directing the movie, we both make TikToks, so you could probably, we've been on the podcast before, but Owen and I are writing a script together for a romantic comedy. You might call it a experimental romantic comedy. The plot is essentially that this woman goes on a series of dates, 10 dates specifically, and you don't have a normal narrative. You just kind of get thrown into the middle of each of these dates, 10 in a row, and that's the movie. We're trying to get it funded through a crowdfunding campaign on a website called Seed and Spark. If you go on Seed and Spark, you could just look up 10 dates and it should pop up. You could also, if you follow Owen or I, we have it linked on all of our profiles everywhere. And the goal is to get $30,000, which is, for what we're doing, a pretty reasonable budget. We only need $24,000 to get the movie made. The way Seed and Spark works is that you have to hit 80% of your goal to get the funding that everybody donated to you. We're just over the $17,000 mark right now with like 3 days left. And yeah, the understanding is that during these last 3 days or so, a lot of people hopefully will donate. People tend to donate right at the beginning of a campaign and right at the end of a campaign. So we just need as much attention as possible over these last couple days, and hopefully people will put some money our way, and then we could get the movie made. Owen and I, for what's going on in my life, at least, we, for the past couple weeks, have been still working on the script. We're trying to get that done so that if we do get the funding, we can start the casting process, hopefully pretty soon after we get the money. We'll start auditioning actors and all of that stuff, but we've just been fine-tuning all of the dates that we've written and finishing up the last ones that we have to write. So that's mostly what's been going on in my day-to-day life right now. But yeah, if you want to donate, if you have any money, or even if you just want to share the campaign with anybody that can donate, it's really helpful. It's hopefully listeners of the pod will just appreciate supporting independent filmmakers. We don't have the money or the connections to get a movie made by other means, and so that's why we're doing this independently through just the fans that we built online. And it would be both of our first feature films. If you're a fan of Owen, you've probably seen a bunch of the shorts that he's put out, but this is like a much bigger jump for us, and hopefully in the following months or whatever, if we get it made, we'll start to explore the idea of festival circuits and all of that stuff to come and find out how we're going to release the movie. That's a whole different process for later. But yeah, right now we just need to get a budget and hopefully film the movie this summer. So it's exciting stuff as long as we can hit that number.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, yeah, if any of you want to go check out and support the Season Spark campaign, it will be linked in the description down below. So go check it out, support it if you can, share it if you can. Because yeah, we want to see this movie get made, and we're big fans of Owen K Meeks, big fans of Teague as well, the cinematographer for the film, who doesn't post as much content, but he's film Twitter. If you're on the circles of film Twitter, you've probably seen him here or there. But kind of just like a collection of a lot of our mutuals, a lot of our friends making a movie together, which is awesome. So we want to see it be made. Ray Romano approved movie, so let's keep it rolling. But yeah, what have you been watching this week?
Yeah, I watched a couple good ones. I did a lot of rewatching. I guess the only like big new thing that I watched is this movie Exotica. It's a real. I saw it mentioned on a podcast as like a real Letterboxd movie where like you don't hear a ton about it, but in like the Letterboxd sphere, it's a real hit with Letterboxd users where it's not a super popular movie, but everybody just like loves it. I mean, if I look at like my mutual rating, it's like a 4.5 rating from my friends. It's a great movie. It's an insane movie, but it rocks. It's about like a strip club where this guy visits it regularly. He's like depressed. He's lost members of his family, and he just kind of like sulks at this strip club, and it takes a pretty wild turn. I would really recommend that people watch that one, if anything. And then I just did a bunch of like rewatching. I rewatched Spotlight recently. We got a new pope, so I put Spotlight on. Nice. I went on a little weekend trip with my girlfriend to the Poconos, and we watched some stuff with her family. I showed her and her parents Out of Sight, which is my favorite probably Steven Soderbergh movie. It's got George Clooney and J-Lo in it. Awesome chemistry. The movie looks amazing. It's like a heist movie. Ving Rhames is in it as well. He's super funny. So if you're like getting pumped for Mission Impossible and you want to see him in another context, but also kind of appealing to you in the same way that he does in Mission Impossible, Out of Sight is like the perfect movie for that.
I feel like George Clooney too is like the easiest like family actor of all time. Like you have to convince like parents age to watch a movie. Like, yeah, George Clooney's in. They're like, oh yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, he's just so charismatic, and like it is one of my favorite performances of his. It's hard to choose because I really kind of just have grown to like him and everything, but he's perfect and Out of Sight. And then I really mostly just did a lot of Mission Impossible viewing, I guess, because I'm preparing for that. I just watched the fourth one last night, so I just got to do 5, 6, and 7, and then I'm ready for the new one. And of course, I did a lot of Final Destination watching as well, but we're going to talk about that. So
awesome, Cameron. How's your week been? What have you been watching?
Week's been fine. I got food poisoning on Friday.
From what?
Moe's.
Damn.
Burritos.
I like Moe's. Yeah. I like Moe's a lot too, so that hurts me. So I missed work. So like 3-day weekend, but also I was struggling on Friday. And yeah, so I was just like in bed. I took like 2 naps. I got like 2 hours and 45 minutes of sleep according to my ring because I was just up yakking all night, unfortunately. Yeah, bad Friday. Otherwise it's been a normal week. Nothing crazy this week. Nothing too much going on. Went to a baseball game last night with my family. That was fun. Like the Pirates AAA team is in Indiana. We don't have like a pure baseball team, but it was fun to go. I had 3-4 hot dogs and a hamburger and then a couple beers. So didn't quite get the 999 going, but showed
tested
up
the
late.
Stomach immediately, unless that was before the food poisoning.
That was after the food poisoning.
So yeah, you bounce back quick.
Yeah, crazy turnaround.
Yeah, food poisoning normally it's like a day thing. The next, like as of Saturday, I was fine.
Big week for Indiana basketball, just in general.
Massive week for Indiana basketball. It was like packed downtown. I didn't go to the Fever game, but it was packed downtown. Beat Chicago by 50, 40. Just manhandled them. It's the Indiana basketball season is about to be crazy. Pacers, Fever, Boilermakers, all winning the championship this year. Simple. Make the Hoosiers look like clowns in this state. So that brings me joy. But yeah, Indiana basketball is cooking right now, and the Knicks should be scared. Mr. Timothy Chalamet should be scared.
Who's the Indiana
that,
equivalent? Who's on the court side for like all the Pacers games? Like I know Caitlin Clark went, but now that her season started, like I doubt she will be.
I assume Caitlin Clark is probably the biggest. El Prez was at the Fever game yesterday. Okay. I think that's probably as famous as we get in Indiana.
Yeah, I think it was more of a Fever thing, though. I don't think he's going to be supporting the Pacers.
No, definitely not supporting the Pacers. I don't necessarily think we've got a Timothy Chalamet matchup to go to be honest with you. Maybe
I think Brendan Fraser. I think we talked about this back when the Whale came out. I think he's an Indiana local, so
okay, sure.
Get the Whale on the side.
No, you know who we got that is a big Indiana local is Hank Green, the Fault in Our Stars guy, right? Massive Indiana.
That's John Green
right there. John Green, one of them. They're both big Indiana guys, but whichever one's the Fault in Our Stars guy,
John Green.
Yeah, they're both big Indiana people. I like saw a TikTok the other day of like Indy 500s generic TikTok, and it was like a John Green hype video or something. I'm like, yeah, those my boys. And then what's his name? One of the Sprouts. Damn these brothers that I can't remember which is which. Either Dylan or Cole Sprouse. They had like that movie premiere here, like 4 or 5 months ago or something at this point that I didn't get invited to. So screw them, but they had a movie premiere here. So they might be big Indiana people. I honestly don't know for sure, but we'll go with that. We'll go with either Green brother or Sprouse brothers might be in attendance for the Indiana games. Go Sirs. We're back. We're goated. Otherwise, normal week. Watch wise. Not a lot going on this week. I've been showing Emma the Harry Potters, so like that takes up my nightly watch time. And we don't often get through. We've actually been doing pretty well. We're through 4 right now. So when we came back from Universal, I was trying to download. That was before our Star Wars pod. I was trying to download A New Hope onto my phone for the plane, and it just took forever. Like I got 70% of the way through in like an hour and a half, and then I'm boarding the plane and it's still at 70%. And so I just quickly like panic download Harry Potter because we went to the Wizarding World. So I was like, yeah, I want to watch this. Why not? And that downloaded quickly. So L Disney Plus, W Max or HBO Max in the future for download speeds in the airport, because that was it downloaded immediately. I was watching it, both our kids were asleep, and I was like, you want to watch this with me? Because Emma didn't really have anything. It was like 2 a.m. So she watched the first, and then we've just been then we watched The Last of Us, and then she was like, well, I'm not tired yet. Throw on the second Harry Potter, that's fine. So we watched that and then convinced her to keep going. And now we're through 4, and I've gotten enthusiastic. They're fine. So like better than they're just fine.
Are these like a true first watch for her? Or is this like a thing where she's like, I watched them as a kid, but
never in her life seen Harry Potter, never even like heard, like crazy. Never even entertained the idea of like kind of watching them, like doesn't know a single thing about it.
That's wild.
So
wild people like that exist. Like my friend just watched Fight Club for the first time the other day. He's like, that twist was crazy. I'm like, wait, people exist who like didn't know that going into it. Like,
yeah, I'm sure Emma wouldn't know that. Yeah. Emma watches like 5 movies a year, and Emma watches like 1 new movie a year. She watches 5 total and 1 new movie. So yeah, like she rewatches shows a lot, but she watches like 1 new movie a year. So getting her to watch all 8 Harry Potters will be an achievement unlike any other. I took her to Dune when it first opened. I was like, I'm really excited for this movie. I think it's going to be awesome. You should come with. I took her to Dune. She fell asleep. And so I just decided there's no need to overlap the interests here. I'll do my own movie watching. You hang out, do your own TV watching. Like No need to overlap interests after that. But yeah, Harry Potter, trying to get her to watch those, because I feel like of all my franchise slop that I love, that's probably the only like one that I could get her into. Like Star Wars, no shot. The Avengers, like MCU, no shot. She's watched like maybe 2 MCU movies with me, just kind of in passing. Transformers, no shot. Just like all of these franchises, no shot. So Harry Potter it is, because it's got some heart. It's got it's fun growth. So yeah, she said, I could see how you like these as a kid's or as a kid. And I was like, no, I like these now. Like I'm into this currently, actually. And she's like, oh, cool. Nice.
Well, they do get darker as you go, so maybe as
they
you
do,
the
yeah.
franchise
So we're getting into that, obviously. Like Voldemort comes back in the 4th. I just asked her for her official review on the 4th. She hasn't replied, but her official review of Prisoner of Azkaban was fine, but in a happy tone. Like I asked her, and she's like, yeah, it was fine. I enjoyed it. So I'll take that. That's about all I'm going for with these watches. So shout out Emma watching a new franchise. She'll be a slop meister soon enough. We'll get her into it. And then the only other movie outside of Harry Potter I watched was Rogue One. Just immediately after I finished Andor, carried right into Rogue One. Trying to convince Alex and George and Seth to do an Andor episode tomorrow night. Did I say Seth? Alex, Sammy, and George to do an Andor episode tomorrow night. So I'm not going to say anything about it now, but if we don't, we'll talk about it next week or something. Great show though. Just incredible show. That's about it for me though.
Nice. Yeah. My week's been hectic and stressful still, just like with the house stuff. It's on the market now, trying to get some nibbles and see if we can get it sold. Just
any nibbles?
Stressful. Not really yet, which is just like a bummer, but average time for our house in our area to sell is around 80 to 100 days. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, not fun times. It's a bummer. It's stressful. Money is just, the great thing about capitalism is I think no matter how much money you have, you're always gonna have problems. And our house, we're really grateful to have a house and be able to have a house to sell, but definitely going to lose money on it. It's just a matter of how much money we're going to lose on it. So after we sell it, basically we're going to have to pay money on top of it to actually close the mortgage. That's going to suck. But yeah, just can't wait to get out of Arizona, get back to Texas. So a lot of stuff working on the house, packing up, cleaning up. Just chaotic, but been really washed in terms of what I've been watching. I'm going to try, I think I'm deciding starting today, I'm going to stop being washed. I'm going to start getting back into regularly watching stuff again. But all I've watched over the last week, other than the new Final Destination movie, is In the Lost Lands, and it took me 8 days to log it on Letterboxd. That's how washed I am. I only had a backlog of one movie, and it still took me 8 days to log it because I'm just man, I'm washed. I need to get back in the saddle. So that's my goal. But I really liked In the Lost Lands. I think it looks awesome visually. The story, probably the most akin to a video game I've ever felt from a movie. The whole thing just feels like you're, controller in hand, switching perspectives between Dave Bautista's character and Mila Jovovich's character. Gonna be honest, the lore lost me at times. I was there's points in the movie where I was I have no clue where we are, what we're doing. But in general, just the overall mission of getting to Lost Lands and Gray Alice, her story, I was just fully immersed. Really loved it. I know it's a really polarizing movie, but I had a great time with In the Lost Lands. That's literally all I watched this week, other than Final Destination Bloodlines last night. So we can go ahead and just get into that. So I know Cam, for this Final Destination spot, you're probably going to be out of here for a little bit. So I'll text you and let you know when we're done. And K Meeks and he's going to help carry the load with me. So.
You guys just love franchise slop. I was busy watching artiste movies. You enjoy your slop though.
Yep,
Enjoy your chat.
We will talk soon. But Final Destination Bloodlines. Let's get into it. The 6th installment of the franchise, the first installment in 14 years. Final Destination Bloodlines, directed by Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein. Death runs in the family. Plagued by a violent recurring nightmare, college student Stephanie heads home to track down the one person who might be able to break the cycle and save her family from the grisly demise that inevitably awaits them all. Came out this week. Generally positive reactions from a franchise that is kind of up and down, but I know both K Meeks and myself tend to like it more than the average person does. But yeah, let's get into this thing. We'll start with just like our quick high level non-spoiler thoughts, and then we will get into like the more, because it's kind of a hard movie to talk about without spoilers. So we'll just start high level. First question for you, since you are obviously our screenwriting background. So this says it's based on a story by John Watts, who everyone knows from the latest Spider-Man trilogy, and then as well as Guy Busick and Maury Evans Taylor, who actually wrote the screenplay. So John Watts is a story by him and the two screenwriters who hadn't wrote the screenplay. But normally, to me, my understanding is when it says story by and then screenplay by, like story by can mean like a book or a short story, like something that was like previously published or made that then was adapted into screenplay. But like this, like, what do you think that means for something like this, where it's like clearly like there's no Final Destination Bloodlines book? Like, do you think like John Watts and them like just like sat in a room and like storyboarded some things, and then like he's like, all right, you two take off with the screenplay now? Like, I don't get how the story could be by him for like something that like wasn't a book or anything. So do you have any ideas there?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So if you're looking at credits on Letterboxd, for example, a lot of times if it is a book, like whatever popular book adaptation, it could say original writer and then the writer of the book, and then it will say the screenwriter is the person who adapted the screenplay based on the novel. And sometimes the original writer will help adapt that screenplay. Story by credit, it is actually like a good example that you could use, although this is maybe not a perfect representation because it's a little bit more collaborative than that. But for example, the movie that we're doing, and this isn't to plug it, it's just to like set the example up, is that the way that Owen and I have been writing the movie is that it's Owen's idea. The movie is his idea. He sought me out because I have written scripts before and he wanted to work on it together. And so he had the idea for the movie and then translated that idea to me. And I have been the one typing it on the page. And obviously like he comes up with lines in the movie and he comes up with his own dialogue and stuff. So that's more of like a co-screenwriting credit, but essentially it could be like that, where somebody can come up with the story, like lay out the story for a screenwriter to then just actually write the script in detail. So it could be something like that. I mean, there's other things it could be, but it's hard to, the way credits boil down is just going to depend from project to project, but just to the degree that it's like a collaborative process, we don't really know because we're not in the room writing with them. But it's possible that it's something like that, where he just had the idea for like, this is how we make another Final Destination movie. Like, this is how, like what the framing should be if we're going to try to revive this franchise. And then they got writers to actually write the script out. It's possible that he was in the room and collaborated way more, but he just asked for a story by credit so that these people could get, more credit, like less established writers could get more credit because he already has a pretty successful career. We don't know like the details, but that's essentially what it is.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. But yeah, let's get into our thoughts. I just looked at the cinematographer. This Christian Sebald has like an insane filmography. So he's done this, obviously, Resident Evil Apocalypse, the Bratz movie, Fear.com, the Even Stevens movie, Casper Meets Wendy, Starship Troopers 2, and Reagan from last year.
Yeah.
So weird, wild filmography there. But what are your thoughts on Final Destination Bloodlines?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not buy into the hype too much, because part of it is the buildup, where it's like, I watched these movies growing up. Like, this is, like you said, like we were higher on this franchise than some people, though I think a lot of people's perception of this franchise is that it's just like one of the most consistent horror franchises that we've had. Obviously the fourth movie, complete dud. Everybody kind of universally agrees on that, but for the most part, all of the movies are incredibly enjoyable. They were, like formative to me growing up. The like kind of set a precedent for what I want to see in horror in terms of like gnarly, gross stuff on film. And so like they mean a lot. And those are all movies that I watched as a kid. like you said, 14 years or whatever has passed. I'm now not a child. And so like just going into that movie with that hype of like, it's hard to not get too nostalgia brained, you know, where like you just want so badly to have these things revived well. A lot of the like legacy sequels that are becoming very popular with horror specifically end up just being dumb and like undeserving. And so when one is actually just good, it's like, wow, that was the most fun ever. Like they revived a franchise that I care about deeply, and I had a great time watching it. So I'm not gonna like immediately be like, this is the best Final Destination movie, but it's very possible that if I sat there and thought about it for enough time, I could come to that conclusion. It's that good. So that's like general big picture thought, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I loved it. It's like on par for me with my other two favorites of the franchise, which we'll talk about when we kind of rank the franchise later, but I don't know. I haven't sat down and actually like ordered them. I mean, I will when we get to that point, but it's basically, you know, between my other two previous favorites of the franchise, it's like right there. And I don't know exactly, you know, it'll be a game time decision when we're ranking where I put it, but I love this movie. I think again, it reinvigorated the franchise 14 years later. It is like wild because the way Final Destination 5, which we'll get into when we talk about the franchise, how it ends in a way where you think like, oh, they just like brought new life into the franchise and we're about to like keep this rolling and like crank out more movies. So the fact that like 14 years later, we're finally kind of getting the continuation of what that sets up with the expanding lore of this universe, kind of crazy, especially because Final Destination 5 did pretty well commercially. But 14 years later, and you know, you benefit in that time from a lot of like the effects of this film look all great. I mean, I never really had too much of an issue with the ones previously, but you know, in 2025, things are a lot different technology wise than it was in the 2000s. But I think the biggest standout for me in this movie, I mean, obviously Tony Todd, rest in peace, major standout actor who's a legend. But in general, this cast is like a bunch of unknowns. Like other than Tony Todd, no one I even recognize from the slightest was like, oh, you were a fifth build character in this one movie. I remember. Like it's like I don't remember any of these people, and I think they all did great. I think it's like the casting director did a great job of just pulling a bunch of unknowns together, and really from all the teenage actors to like the parents to everyone, I thought they all did a great job, and I think they really held this up because I think Final Destination movies, you're never really watching them for the acting. And the previous installments have had some uneven acting. I think to me previously, I'd probably say like Final Destination 3 was probably like the best collection of actors I've had before this. And usually like each franchise like has like maybe one or two characters or each franchise installment where I'm like, yeah, you know, they're doing their best. They're not giving much, but I really enjoyed everyone in this movie. But this movie builds off of Final Destination 5, which I feel like was the first movie that started being a lot more about like expanding this universe and not just being like a collection of kills, and it kind of expands the lore and it subverts expectations. And 5, I think, was incredible at building tension throughout every single kill and having a lot of misdirection, more so than the previous ones, which even the ones that I did feel were more just like kill collections for the most part, like I think are still very fun movies. I don't dislike any of them except 4, like we mentioned, but this one I think completely subverts expectations in a lot of ways, builds tension in a lot of ways, a lot of misdirection. A lot of times I didn't know exactly where it was going. So many of the kills ended up just catching me off guard. And yeah, I mean, I feel like in total, like kill count wise, like this seems like maybe one of like the lower ish ones of Final Destination movies, but that doesn't hold it back whatsoever because I think the story that it builds is so intriguing, so fascinating. How many different tendrils of this plot over the past franchise that has to be pulled together is kind of like an incredible undertaking, especially for like a legacy-ish franchise sequel. The fact that they were able to weave it all in together, whereas I feel like in 5 they kind of started that, but it's like it was a little bit kind of just thrown at the end and it kind of blows you away like, whoa, shit, I didn't know that's where it was going. Whereas this one, like fully from the beginning, is having to weave the narrative through all the Final Destination franchise, which I think has succeeded really well. So I had a really great time with it. I think my rating, I haven't logged it yet. It's between like a 4 and a 3.5. And I see, what did you give it a 4?
I gave it 4. Yeah. Might even be a 4.5 if I'm feeling crazy.
Hell yeah. No, I definitely am. I had such a fun time with this. I'm already excited to rewatch it. So I think that's going to be when I ultimately firmly decide if it's like above my other favorites of the franchise. But we'll throw the spoiler tag on now so we can talk about the movie itself, because again, these movies are hard to talk about without spoilers. But yeah, let's get into this thing. So Final Destination Bloodlines, it starts out with Iris and her fiance attending the opening ceremony of the Skyview restaurant tower. It has like a dance party, it's a restaurant, and this is when the premonition of the movie starts. You know, it's teased in the trailer. They're at something that looks like like the Space Needle in Seattle, where there's just like this big restaurant above the city and everyone's dancing and having a great time. And in typical Final Destination fashion, a chain of events start happening where things start to unfold to where ultimately the tower starts collapsing, people start dying kind of one by one, in the same way of like all the previous premonitions, like the roller coaster or like the airplane crash, where it's like everyone's gonna die, but like the way it shows them die kind of goes in a one by one way that ends up leading to the story of how we have to follow the order, which then goes way beyond that with family trees. But we'll start with just the premonition, because it is really like this movie's about an hour 40 minutes, and the first premonition is probably like the first 25 minutes of the movie. So right there's probably like the first quarter of the movie. So Skyview restaurant tower, Iris back in the day, 1968, having it collapse and that being her premonition. What were your kind of thoughts on the opening of the movie?
I thought it was great. I mean, well, specifically, it's definitely the most set up for an opening scene. I think the movie in general, something to note is just that it's long, and when I say longer, it makes it sound like it's a lot longer. It's like 20 minutes longer than the average Final Destination movie, but that 20 minutes makes a big difference when you consider how quickly they move through the story in the other movies. Like there is just more story in this movie, and that opening just is longer. And it also does what you said, which is like take a bit of a different direction. And in a lot of points of the movie, they take a different direction. But the way that this one is set up is like it's a flashback that you don't find out is a flashback until a later scene when it is revealed to us. It's like other than the normal premonitions, it's like it opens, we get more movie, and then we find out that was the vision like later, which I think is a really cool concept, like a good way to frame it. But then it's also just like, it's gnarly. I mean, there's so kind of like I guess the one you'd compare it to is the bridge collapse, obviously, right? Where like so many people are like falling in the fifth movie, and there's a lot of that in this one where it's like falling, but there's also a lot of build up to that point. Like just the idea of like, the bridge collapse is one thing, but this is like really emphasizing the height, which I imagine is for most people watching a huge fear, or not most people, but a common fear. And so like it's emphasizing the height. There's like the vertigo of like looking through the glass, and that's like making you super uncomfortable. And like as soon as the glass starts cracking and like everything is in motion, you're like, oh, this is like really terrifying. And then it's probably, I mean, the body count on this one has to be ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know which opening scene has the most. I guess it's probably that bridge collapse, but maybe now it's just this one, because there's so many people packed up in that tower. It's like even the way up, like that made me so nervous when they get in the elevator and there's like whatever, like 20 people packed into like the 8-person elevator. I'm like, dude, that stuff bothers me so much, because I already get nervous in elevators when I like feel like there's too many people in there or something. Any type of thing like that, where it's like you need like this many people fit on it, or like this is the weight limit for a thing, and there's more, I'm just like immediately I'm like, no thanks, not even going near it. So that like, the tension's great in this opening. I think it's awesome.
They do the classic like, we'll get the next elevator. Like, no, come on, and you can fit. Which one is scary because what you mentioned, but two, like just like socially, like I'm always like,
I don't want to be.
I always do the uncomfortable. Like when I'm walking up to an elevator, if I start to notice, I'm like, it's probably full. I'll do like I'll walk a little slower and like nonchalantly be like, oh, I'm not going in the elevator. Like just because I don't want to do that awkward thing of like, can I fit? Can I not fit? I don't know. Like I don't want to squeeze in with these people, but no, like you said, it's the longest one. And we get the big misdirection here of, like you kind of alluded to, when you get, so normally like the formula for Final Destination movie is like you get a premonition, then the premonition ends, the person freaks out, then tries to stop everyone. And then you kind of see the people get saved, but then the rest of the people get taken out and they're like, holy shit, like you saved us. Whereas in this one, like the premonition ends, and instead of going to Iris, we go to Stephanie, which is Iris's granddaughter, correct? I'm trying to see the family tree. So I believe it's Iris's granddaughter, but usually, you know, you go immediately to the premonition of, you'd think you could be in Iris's POV right after, but you go to Stephanie waking up in a lecture, freaking out, realizing like, I keep having these nightmares of this 1968 tower collapse of my, again, I believe his grandmother. Like why is this happening? Like, I don't know. It's just like a weird connection she's having, a weird, like clairvoyant connection to this tower collapse that was this premonition, but she's having this premonition over and over again in her head. Basically allows her to not sleep. We find out she's like on academic probation because it's ruining her life. This premonition of this tower collapse is all consuming her brain, and she ends up going home to her family, which you kind of realize is a broken home in the sense that her mom is kind of out of the picture. Her brother and father kind of allude to the fact that they don't really ever usually see her because she's off at college, but we realize the reason she's home is more, well, one, she wants to track down Iris and figure out what the hell is going on with this premonition, why she feels connected to her, but also because she's like failing out of school because of how much it's consuming her life. So from there, we kind of get modern day. I don't know if it's technically set like modern day, but we're not in 1968 anymore. We are several generations later to where Iris has now secluded herself in a bunker with like, you know, logs protecting it, like fences, security systems, as fully secured her down because she's like, you know, death is coming for me, death's coming for my family. I'm going to live in basically a death-proof house. And Stephanie wants to go track her down and figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, her father is a little hesitant to that because basically he's like, she's a kook. She's been saying our whole life that we're all going to die. She's been sending us obituaries and sending us crazy things and hints of like how we are all supposed to die. And basically they've just completely disconnected from the family at this point. So she goes back home and gets from her like stepmom or something, basically kind of says like, oh, like the contact information is, you know, hidden in this drawer. If you want to go find Iris, you can go do that. So she does that, goes off to find Iris, meets her in her, you know, bunker of a house that's protected from death and everything. And talks to her, gets this book of information that Iris has put together of all these deaths that have happened and are expected to happen and how they're going to happen based on the premonition and based on the family tree that's come from the premonition and everything that ties to it, and gives it to her. And then ultimately, you know, we see Iris's demise, which I guess will kind of end for this connection, which brings us about halfway through the movie-ish. So yeah, thoughts on this point where we kind of we are introduced to Stephanie and she starts trying to track this down and goes to Iris, and then we kind of get the first, I guess it's technically the first kill of the movie other than the premonition.
Yeah. I mean, what I really like, and I think the movie is having a lot of fun with, is that it is taking this like what we now think of with all horror movies as like the elevated horror approach. It's like, you know, a lot of people will mention the fact that it is like the 9 millionth horror movie in the last decade to be about generational trauma. Mm-hmm. I do think that this one is so knowing, like it knows when to weave in the jokes. It still works as a movie about generational trauma. It's also making fun of it, and it's also making fun of like a lot of the things that it's like. That's what I can really appreciate, is like the same thing that you can all the things you can complain about with this movie, whether it's like that or like the real like legacy sequel like feeling to it. It's like it knows that it's doing this. The movie, I think, is being very smart and very funny with that. But I also just think it works. And I think that the generational trauma approach is so like perfect for a Final Destination movie. It's shocking that they didn't do it earlier. Obviously, the elevated horror space, as we know now, was not really existent when these movies were coming out. Mm-hmm. But it's just like it's such a logical endpoint, or I guess it won't be an endpoint. I doubt this will be the last Final Destination movie, but such a logical place for the Final Destination movies to go. Because it's, you know, like, I think really what it does well is just that it's in this case, the grandma, like trying to do something to protect her family. And it is the same things that one person does to protect their family or one person does for the benefit of their family are the same things that other members of their family are going to be affected by negatively, where it's like the perspective totally shifts. It's like one person's doing something that from their perspective thinks is what they need to do for their family. Mm-hmm. And then their family is like, I hate this person actually for doing that exact thing. And I think that it's very accurate. And I think it's cool that is really the central premise of the movie. So that setup I think is perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause you nailed it on the head. She secludes herself and she thinks she does it because she wants to protect her family, but her whole family just thinks she's a kook that kind of abandoned them, which is the same thing we find out about Stephanie's birth mother, is that she's kind of off on her own, lives in an RV, secluded, removed herself from the family. And again, it's because she thinks she's protecting them and saving her family from this curse and the premonitions and the death that's following their family and hunting the family down. But like you said, her family, the generational trauma aspect is like these people in their lives think they're trying to protect them and help them, but the people obviously can't understand that, because how could you understand something like death trying to find you and kill you, which is a trope of every Final Destination movie, where it's like, death is hunting us. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. What are you talking about? You're crazy. But we get Stephanie to ultimately believe that what's going on when we get there and she has all the signs of being like a kook. She has her bunker, doomsday bunker prepped. She makes allusions to the fact that death is like, hanging out in her house. She's like, I see you. You're not so slick. And then Stephanie's like, who are you talking to? And I thought there was literally a person there, but no, she's like, oh, that's just like death. I can see it planning a way to kill me here, but I'm on to it. But ultimately, Stephanie's not fully sold on this idea that the death is actually hunting their family down. So Iris kind of takes things into her own hands and really pushes the narrative and says like, here, you're going to believe me because I'm basically not really killing herself, but she goes outside knowing the fact that death has been hunting her, and she's going to leave her protective bunker and say like, watch, the second I leave this place, like I'm dying. And then we see wind chimes start blowing and everything happens. And then boom, in your face. She gets impaled through her skull, killed right in front of Stephanie, kind of saying like, seeing is believing, and shows Stephanie like, we mean business. This is real. Death is coming after our family. And from there, Stephanie kind of fully buys in at this point. She's like fully locked in. She takes the book. She has possession of the book now, of all the research that Iris has done of what's going to happen and who's going to be affected and kind of the order and how everything works. Just understanding the logic that we've come to know of the Final Destination movies. And she brings that back to her family, tries to explain to them how they're all going to die. And that death is hunting them. And again, in typical Final Destination fashion, no one believes them, because how could you really believe someone when they say something like this is a ridiculous idea? So, they're all kind of go on with their life nonchalantly, thinking nothing's going to happen. They have a barbecue, which is kind of, I guess, before she explains to the family that the barbecue is where we get the scene that pretty much all of it you've seen in the trailers and the commercials, which was a little misdirection to me, because I thought from the trailers and the commercials, I thought it was almost going to be like a premonition part 2. Like I was expecting from the commercials that like multiple people were going to die at that barbecue in like different ways. Like I thought someone dies in the gas grill and someone dies from the lawnmower and someone dies from the trampoline or whatever. And that was going to be like the Stephanie's premonition then, of her being like, wow, now I have this gift and I see this all happening. But no, it was kind of a misdirection, which I liked, because, again, it was all over commercials and trailers. So we all knew this was coming, where the glass breaks in the drink and then the glass gets spilled. And then we have ultimately the people on the trampoline, builds a lot of tension, but then there's misdirection because the mom who's there, who's a recluse, comes because they were there for Iris's funeral and they're at a barbecue after. Mom kind of saves the day on the trampoline by pulling out the I guess what's it called, like hose or rakes under the trampoline. So no one dies on the trampoline. No one gets hurt, just slips through the cracks. And he's like, whoa, that was close. And same with the gas grill. No one dies there. But the big one was ultimately what, again, we see in the trailer get spoiled for us, is that the father steps on the glass shard that was placed in the lawn, impales his foot. He falls back over. There's a Rube Goldberg machine of events that happens that ends up turning on the lawnmower, which mows over his head, kills him. And that's when I kind of went out of order, is when Stephanie brings her family together and says like, hey, look at, like, this is all that's going on. with death is hunting us. Here's the order. Here's what's going to happen. We got to protect ourselves and do something about it. Which then kind of ushers us into the final act or two of the movie. So anything you want to add to the, the big barbecue scene that, was what really the trailers kind of revolved around?
Yeah, the barbecue scene is really good. The thing that I would add is I really like that they characterize this main character, Stephanie, as somebody who's really smart. Like they say she was like valedictorian or whatever, and she's just struggling at college because of these like visions that she's having. Because I think a logical, also, if realism doesn't totally matter in a franchise like this, but I do think that at some point along the road there would have to be more of like an instant reaction for someone who is like, I'm going to solve what is happening, because it is so like crazy and would bother you so much. And obviously so many of the deaths in the franchise bank on people being dumb and just like not caring. And we've seen in previous installments, there's characters who go insane and get locked up, or lock themselves up voluntarily, I should say. But to have someone be like, this is all of the information I could reference, how do I use this to solve this problem, I think is like awesome. Like I don't know how this hasn't happened in a movie before. It's like, it makes so much sense, where it's like somebody has to just be like even half smart and be like, how do I do something about this? Because the rate at which people catch on in this franchise sometimes is a little bit insane. Like, it's like you catch on too late and then you can't get to the people in time, which obviously is like the fun of the movies and the narrative device. But it's also like, at some point I would like, you'd find a person who just catches on right away. Like if it was me personally in this situation, it would not take a second, third death or whatever. Like if I saw something like that happen, where it's just like this crazy chain of events that kills somebody totally unimaginably, I'd be like, yeah, something's going on right away. I'd be like, we need to do something about this because someone else is going to die, and I would believe it instantly. Yeah. So I think that's a nice touch that we get a character who is like locked in and focused on actually solving the mystery of what's happening.
I also really love Stephanie's relationship with her brother in this movie, because I think what this movie does great is there's a lot of like horror tropey elements that it either subverts expectations or just does them in like a way that pays enough like service to them that it doesn't feel like a throwaway trope. Like the first interaction you get between her and her brother feels like you're about to get the classic like annoying tropey brother-sister relationship where he's like, oh, you hate the family, you don't care about us, yada yada yada, and you're like, oh, this is like, I know where this is going. But then she's like, no, like if I drop out of school, or like if I flunk school, like I'm gonna lose my scholarship. And then like basically immediately from right there, like he like becomes really compassionate and like is really loving of his sister and caring for what's going on with her and wants to be with her and help solve this. And their whole relationship, the whole movie, I really loved. And I just thought it was interesting how like immediately the first introduction you get to the brother, I was like, oh, there's gonna be another really annoying brother-sister relationship where like the whole time he's gonna be, like you said, in other Final Destination movies where maybe he's not a brother, but people are just like, I don't believe you. Screw you, man. Let me live my life. Who are you to tell me how to live my life? And immediately it nips that in the bud. And you get like a really awesome relationship between the two who kind of go through the rest of the movie together.
And it's important because like you want, to some degree, you want to watch people you don't like die on screen, but you also want to watch people you do like die, because it probably affects you more every single time. Like there's, for example, in the fourth movie, the one that we agree is the worst, one of the first death is a guy who is literally like a racist with a swastika on his arm. It's like, I don't really, you know what I mean? It's like, obviously it's fun to watch that guy die. It's also like, no shit. Like obviously but when you care about people, it makes a world of difference. And so like I said about this movie being a little more plotty and like, and story driven, it's like, you are going to characterize these people a little bit better, and caring about the brother or sister dynamic definitely matters. And you mentioned the cast as well. It's like having good performances and building up these characters through good performances is going to make a difference too.
And even the brother who, well, I guess we are in the spoiler section, turns out to be a stepbrother. He's like the prototypical Final Destination characters, like I don't believe you, rebelling, full of piercings, tattoos, like the classic archetype of a character is going to be like the denier. But even him, he gets like scenes where like he's mourning his dad, listening to sad music, and like you get in this movie installment a lot more character development and it is more plotty, but it makes you care about people, even the ones that are supposed to be more the quote unquote throwaway, get these deaths out of here. We don't care as much, which I guess the probably quick throwaway death. Well, the death itself is awesome, but the character we don't care about or know about as much, I guess, to get that out of the way, is the first one who dies after the father, who we get the awesome scene now with the garbage truck. So
yeah,
leading up to this, basically at this point, Stephanie has told her family what's going on, and we I don't know the guy's name, but for people, what I'm talking about, it looks like Eric is his name, the piercing tattoo guy. He's supposed to be first because he's the oldest, and as Stephanie lays out, like we know from previous Final Destination movies, the order that it happens, the premonition, is how they're going to die in real life. But there's also now this new wrinkle of like the family bloodline. So it's like their family is next based on the web of everything is falling out with Iris, but her brother, or he's the piercing guy's the oldest one. So he's going to be the first one to go in typical Final Destination fashion. And we get, again, a classic setup from a Final Destination movie where she's kind of explaining like everything that could go wrong. And she's like, stay away from the garbage truck. It could be dangerous. And he's like, oh, this, and like does a classic, like touching it, kissing it, licking it. Like, oh, look, nothing's going to kill me. I'm invincible. Like you're crazy. And then we get the real subversion of expectations, because we don't find out till later. I know I already mentioned it, that he's like actually a stepbrother. So he's not bloodline related. So he would be spared. But we find out that actually, then since he's not biologically related, it's going to be the blonde sister first, who kind of, like I mentioned, I think it's the least characterization of anyone in the movie. Like didn't really get much from her. But this death is one of the all-timers, in my opinion. A hilarious setup where like she mentions like, oh, what you could like a leaf blower could blow leaves and somebody get kicked in the face with a soccer ball, and the brother is supposed to die. It's like, oh wow, that would suck if I get kicked in the face with a soccer ball. But of course that is what happens. She goes on a jog, the leaf blower malfunctions, whatever, sprays leaves in front of these kids' faces. They kick a soccer ball, hit her in the face, falls into a trash bin that a garbage truck then loads into the back of the trash bin. And very Star Wars original-esque, where you have like the trash compactor walls closing in, and they try and save her. We have Stephanie try and climb aboard the back of the truck because in classic fashion the garbage truck driver has his music too loud. He has headphones on actually, and is driving away while the two brothers are trying to get in front of the car and like be like, yo, stop. And then Stephanie's in the back trying to get her sister out. So a lot to unpack here, because I think the death is really awesome. The setup's really awesome. At this point, we don't know about the stepbrother aspect. So we kind of get the whole tension of like, but she can't be first because she's not in the right order. And then when you see the brother running in front of the truck, I was like, oh, he's about to get run over by the truck, like right before she gets crushed. So it will be in order. So a lot of different like things I was expecting to happen based on Final Destination movies that don't happen here. So I think it makes for a very fun scene that is for sure in one of my all-timer kill scenes, in the ultimate way, where she dies. Just completely gruesome, up close, in your face. Very traumatizing for Stephanie, as was the first death. Like the deaths in this movie are like completely right in front of her face. So I guess it happens a lot in the previous movies as well. But I feel like in this one it was even more personal how like traumatizing these deaths were for her just being right in front of her. But yeah, want to hear your thoughts on this death, because I think this is a an all-timer Final Destination kill.
Yeah, it's an all-timer because it mixes the like quality of the violence, like it's like an actually like unsettling, gory death with just back to back funniest jokes in the movie. It's like, first, it's hilarious that she explains the setup and then it happens exactly to a different person. then the driver is like swiping on Tinder, like so funny. And then immediately we get the thing that you're hinting at, like right after, where we find out that the reason why he didn't die is because he's the stepbrother, which I think is just the funniest part of the movie. And like that is the best way to poke fun at what you're doing, while also still nailing everything out. Like it is like the exact tone of how dumb these movies should be, where it's like, oh, actually he's the stepbrother, and it's so like perfect. I think everything about that little section of the movie is like as good as it gets. Like that's peak Final Destination to me.
Yeah, and the final death being so gruesome of the head being smashed in the trash compactor right in front of Stephanie's face. But yeah, that hilarious scene. I audibly gasped and like put my hand over my mouth when I saw like the soccer ball kick her in the face. That is just so funny. It's like one of the funniest moments in any Final Destination movies. Soccer ball kicked in the face, falls in the trash can, and unfolds exactly like Stephanie says. So the sister is then dead at this point. And unless I'm forgetting something, I believe next would be the brother who, well, I guess, did I already pass the brother at the tattoo shop at this point? I think I might have already skipped through that.
Yeah, you did. Well, because when they have the conversation with him about how he was supposed to die, that happens after the tattoo shop part. But that's like a fake out death. It's not like I mean, it's, you know, in the trailer, it's it was hyped up as the first teaser, really, where they were like, this is how the person's going to die. And then it's really silly when it's revealed that he just had like no damage at all. And I was like, this is kind of dumb, but it's funny. Yeah, that's a good scene as well, because it's like the good chain of events setup. And it does, you know, I think it's important to note that they like really emphasize that as a teaser, because it's not just fake outs in the movie, it's fake outs against the marketing, which to me is like huge, because there's been so many, you know, like people love to complain, and sometimes I'll do it, where they're like, horror movies or any movie just reveals way too much in the trailer. So to like reveal stuff in that way to us and then go against it so that the movie is still super watchable even if you've seen the trailer, like, no notes. That's great stuff.
Yeah, because the trailer really emphasizes the barbecue, which again I thought was going to be way more death heavy than it ended up being, which I think was a great fake out. And then, like you said, what we see with the brother, he gets you see it in the teaser trailer where he gets his like nose ring caught, the ceiling fan starts spinning around the chain, so he gets yanked up, and then there's like a fire that starts happening, and just a big chain of events. But then you kind of realize like, oh, like he actually, and it makes you think he dies, because it kind of does an off screen, like there's like an explosion of the fire. And you only see it from like an outside the street perspective. And you're like, oh, like I guess that's it for him, which I thought was a little lame, because I was like, oh, off screen death. That's not really Final Destination. Like that's not how they do things. Yeah. But then of course he's fine. Like had like maybe like a 1st degree burn at tops, like on like his elbow, and that's it. Like it looked like he completely got like absolutely wrecked in there, but it's like, no, man, I'm completely fine. And then that's when you get the garbage thing where it's like, oh, maybe this is when he's about to die. But yeah, no, great fake out. It reminded me of Saw 10, another legacy sequel I quite liked, where the trailer was so focused on like the eyeball vacuum machine. When then you watch the movie and it's like that was the first like 10 minutes of the movie, and like a completely like nothing burger for like what the actual plot of the movie was. So just a fun way to market horror movies in like a gruesome, exciting way, while also leaving so much for the actual movie watching experience. But yeah, I believe now we're at the point where we kind of get into the final act again. Like I said, I think death wise, not kind of the premonition, this is like probably the lowest kill count of the Final Destination movies, because there's just not a whole lot. Normally it's like, I'd probably say like about a dozen people in each movie, and this one we get like 4. I don't know, like not that many. But I appreciate the plottiness a lot more of this movie. But we get let's see. So they meet with, so this is when they meet with Tony Todd, JB. Yeah. They go to the hospital because in all the books of her Iris, there's this JB person who they correspond, and they've kind of tracked this down together. It's like, who is this guy? We got to go talk to him. And of course, it's Tony Todd, who's been in the other Final Destination movies. He's always kind of like the mysterious person at the scene of the crimes that like knows too much, but you never really get any backstory on him of like who he is or what's going on with them. Why is this guy always here? Other than just being like kind of like a tropey, like maybe he's like a symbolism of death itself, because he's just kind of always there lingering. But you get his backstory here in an incredible scene of him explaining his relationship with Iris, how he was, a boy at the tower, was saved by the premonition, and that he would visit her while she was secluded, and they would kind of track this down together, and they start mapping it out together. And then we kind of see, because throughout the other movies, you see he's always at the scene of the crime. So he knows everything that's going on, like what's happening with death, and figuring out, he knows exactly in the timeline when it's his turn to go. He's kind of like the last one up. So after this family gets taken out, he dies. But this is like an eerily incredible scene, because it's obviously the last Tony Todd scene in a movie we ever see. Obviously he passed away in the Oscars disgracefully like didn't mention him in their in memoriam, which is just insane.
Yeah.
But at least this movie gives like arguably like, I mean, like
Perfect
eerily like maybe the greatest send off there's ever
Yeah.
been ever for a character who's died, because like his final monologue is so eerie, and the whole thing, how it works in the plot too, is like he's like all the business is done here, everything's happened that should happen, and once everything's wrapped up, then it's my time to go. Like I've done what I needed to do, and it's my time to die. And he was like very accepting of it. Gives an incredible monologue about death and about how messy it is and how it affects people and how the generational trauma of it all and how this whole franchise unfolded. And yeah, I was completely blown away in the theater. That scene, really emotional, but just again, just for a movie franchise about death and Final Destination, about like not escaping death and like the weird orders things happen and how everything seems like predetermined, just a crazy thing that this ends up being like his last movie. And it's like, and the last thing we ever see of him on screen is going to be him talking about death and its inevitability and accepting of death before walking off screen and then dying in real life. So I don't know. This like just floored me. Like I was getting emotional. I was like, this is really great stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was wiping away tears literally in the theater. Like I love Tony Todd. He's a great actor, iconic actor. And it's like, yeah, like you said, I mean, it's probably, and again, I don't have off the top of my head everything to compare it to. This could obviously be a stretch if I actually sat there and thought about it, but it has to be up there with like the greatest last appearances for an actor in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like to show up and do this, just like knock out one scene, have it be really, I mean, it's the scene of the movie. Obviously there are death scenes in the movie that are going to be the most memorable because they are up there with the greatest in the franchise, and that's what people watch the movies for. But like it's amazing. I think the speech is perfect. I was like moved to tears. I was like, I can't believe that I'm watching this in a Final Destination movie. I knew it was going to be emotional regardless to see him on screen, but to have like his dialogue match so well, like, and I was blown away.
Yeah, really eerie coincidence that it just, again, just a monologue about death right before he ends up passing. So
yeah, I mean, I imagine he also like could have, you know, they could have seen that to some degree coming, where it's like if he knew this was his final performance, then that's a really good way to like send it off.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, so we get him kind of talking about what's just more reaffirming of what's going on, and like he kind of provides the insight of like, here's how you can defeat it. You either gives two options. You either kill someone and you get how much time like death had, you know, in their life ahead of them, you get that much life left, or you die yourself and get brought back to life. So like flatline, be brought back to life. Both instances of this are either killing someone or dying yourself and going back to life. We've seen in previous Final Destination movies, but this group of people now learns about how that works. So after this incredible scene, they're in a hospital. The stepbrother and brother go off. So Eric and I don't know which one.
Oh gosh, yeah. Bobby?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Bobby.
But yeah, so those two go off and basically decide like, because you're next, so let's figure this out. And in Final Destination fashion, we're gonna prevent you from dying. And now we know the way of doing that is either you got to kill someone or you got to kill yourself and be brought back to life. So some very, I don't know if funny is the right word, but comedic moments where, you know, they're walking through a hospital, which is kind of at first thought you're like, there's kind of an awful place to kill someone, because you're like, well, if everyone's here, there's probably a reason they're here and they might not have as much time left. But then you get the maternity ward where there's all a bunch of babies. Like, well,
another great joke. I mean, so funny.
Like we could just kill these babies and we get like, you know, maybe 20 more years than I ever would have had anyways. I'm going to get like 100 years left or something. I don't know. But quickly nips out of the bud. He's like, dude, I'm not killing a baby or killing anyone for that matter. So they decide that he's going to kill himself and be brought back to life. And the way they do that is we find out early in the movie he has a peanut allergy. So they have a vending machine, another all-timer tension scene where you're like, something's going to go very wrong here. They decide to get him some Reese's peanut butter cups to create his deadly peanut allergy. And the stepbrother then takes away his EpiPen. So he's not going to be able to be revived without the help of the doctor. So the intent is to asphyxiate from your peanut allergy until you are dead, flatlined, and then we're in a hospital. So the step brother is going to throw him in a wheelchair and say like, "Oh, come revive my brother. He has peanut allergy." Bring him back to life, and then boom, the chain is broken, the curse is broken and lifted. We're all good to go. But they sneak into a back MRI room to perform this killing of himself and eat the Reese's peanut butter cups. But through a chain of events of a Rube Goldberg machine happening, the MRI machine turns on, starts cranking up, magnetic, says like, no metal, no technology, nothing, because it's going to get sucked in. And it just keeps cranking up the amount of Teslas of magnetism on the machine. Ultimately gets to like research mode to where it like breaks open, where we're like way higher magnetism than ever would be feasible for like a human to be in. It's like just keeps cranking up the machine, cranking it up to the point where everything in the room starts getting magnetically sucked in to then ultimately like the entire like floor of the hospital. Like that's how powerful this thing is pulling metal towards it. But this is probably my favorite death in the movie. Is an all-timer. He's asphyxiating on peanut butter while his stepbrother, who we thought was fine because he's a stepbrother, but then you get the classic, like, when you mess with death, it's going to fight back or it's going to be messy. And as we mentioned, he's a very tattooed and pierced man. So as this magnetism starts rolling up, his nose piercing, tongue piercing, ear piercing, nipple piercing, what are it's called? Like the Prince Henry's, is that the urethra piercing? Everything's getting sucked out. And the latter one, the urethra piercing, the most brutal, where it's like yanking him into the machine, literally. And then just snapping his body in Final Destination 5 gymnast fashion, sucking him completely into the machine. Incredible kill. Unbelievable. And then finally he's like holding the EpiPen still. So the actual brother is able to go grab the EpiPen, stab himself and revive himself. So he doesn't get the flatline, doesn't break the curse. But, he wasn't supposed to die because of the premonitions and he wasn't part of the bloodline. But again, it's because he messed with death and death's going to fight back. But yeah, your thoughts on like from the vending machine all the way through the ultimate death here? Because I think this is like just some all-timer stuff in the franchise.
Yeah, I think you could pretty much argue that this is the best kill in the entire franchise if you wanted to, and I would not disagree with you. Whether you want to include other ones based on just like impact in the story, that's fine. But like from a pure mechanics standpoint, just like how it's orchestrated and the gore, and I mean it's perfect. Like it's like I was watching it with my girlfriend and my friend, and it was so like brutal that my girlfriend started looking away from the screen at one point. I was like, I don't blame you. I was like, meanwhile, I'm watching it and I'm like kicking my feet, laughing in my seat. Like I'm like, this is the best thing ever, because this is for me, like, this is like what I live for, is like these specific kind of, not to say that I'm like a fanatic when it comes to like violence and gore or whatever, but in this instance where it's like this kind of like fun Final Destination violence and gore, I don't know how you top this. I mean, this is every single little step on the way there is more exciting to watch than the last. Like specifically, you mentioned the gymnastics death, which is also one of the best in the franchise, but like that's like very immediate. The fact that he's like pulled in slowly, like not just like the piercings, but then also like his actual body is just like slowly crunched down. I'm like, I mean, like I said before, just no notes. Like it's as good as a death gets, I think. Yeah,
that entire like 7-minute sequence is just incredible. Starting from like the vending machine of the trying to get the peanut butter cups and get stuck in the vending machine. So he's like tipping over the vending machine. You clearly see a sign saying "Do not tip," and he's saying it's going to fall. So the tension's there from the get go. Ends up being fine. They get the Reese's peanut butter cup out of the machine. Then you have like the whole like him trying to steal a wheelchair, talking to some just random older lady that's in the lobby, grabbing the wheelchair, trying to convince his brother to eat the peanut butter and kill himself, which even had a funny joke before then where he's like getting peanuts, or his brother's like, dude, if I'm going to kill myself, I'm not going to eat unsalted peanuts. I'm getting like a Reese's peanut butter cup. So then he does it, and then just the slow ripping of all the piercings as the magnetism is cranked up to ultimately where he's like getting literally dragged into the machine by his dick is just insane. And like you said, he's just getting crumpled slowly and surely. Gruesome death, incredible death, very high production value. And the thing also about the gymnastics death is like, and I'm not looking for realism from these movies, but it's like when that happens, it's very clearly like just like a cartoony, like when it's like shows like the broken bone, broken up body. You're like, oh yeah, like that's just like a silly, like clearly like fake thing. Whereas like this, like the whole time he was like being crunched and crippled, like I was like, this looks like too real. I'm like, this is like so disturbing and well done.
Yeah.
And again, that's part of the benefit of 14 years later. Like you just technology is going to evolve. But yeah, and then the scene caps off, I guess, with the brother who revives himself from the EpiPen of the peanut butter, and then the vending machine spiral thing that unloaded the peanut butter cup gets magnetically drawn in and sucked off the machine because, like I said, it's like sucking people's badge IDs from like a room over. Like it's magnetism MRI machines cranked up to the gills, pulls out the spring, pierces Bobby's head, and he's dead. So he was not able to flatline and survive. And next up, it's going to be Stephanie and Charlie who are next. So the brother and sister we mentioned. So Stephanie would be next technically because Charlie's younger. So they go to Iris's house because they are trying to hide from death at this point. They know that she has this fortress, and they go with their mom. So those three are in the mom's RV driving to Iris's house to try and protect themselves from death because they're like, we've tried everything to stop this. We're cooked at this point. Like there's no stopping it. We got to go to this cabin, at least buy us some time in a death-proof area so we can figure out our next move. And as they go there, they have to ram through the front to get into the house. And at this point, in typical Final Destination fashion, Stephanie's seatbelt gets stuck, so she can't get out of the car. Once they get to the house, she's like, Charlie, Darlene, you two go into the house. If you guys are safe, I'll be fine. Like I'll get the seatbelt off and I'll meet you guys in there. So Charlie and the mom go in or try to get in the house. And that's where, things start to go awry. There's a big explosion in the house from an ember that gets in and kind of like a gas leak makes it explode. Charlie gets trapped under this bunch of debris, and we think Darlene dies from the explosion, the mom, but she doesn't. She survives, clearly pretty mangled, but she survives enough to pick Charlie up, pick the debris up off him and get him to save his sister. But Darlene at this point is kind of a classic, like I'm fine, I'll be fine. You go do your thing, and then boom, dead. She gets some telephone pole or something falls on her.
The power line
kills her immediately. And then Charlie at this point, Stephanie, the RV's turned over in like a little pond, and she's drowning because she's stuck in a seatbelt. Charlie has to go in there, find like a knife, cut her free, and try and revive her. Ultimately, she is quote unquote, I guess, dead asterisk at this point, where she's no longer breathing. She's drowned basically, and he gets her free, does CPR on her, gets all the water removed from her lungs, saves her life. She's back, she's living, and they survived this traumatic experience. And she died, she came back to life. The curse should be broken. So before we get on to the very final end of the movie, we'll kind of do this chunk here of the final drive to Iris's house and the ultimate fate of Darlene, the mother, and then the whole Stephanie and Charlie saving each other. So I guess one thing I was confused about here, which was when she gets the seatbelt stuck, she says, go inside the house because like, if you guys are safe, I'll be fine. But if Stephanie's older than Charlie, then wouldn't like she need to be the one that's being saved? Or was it just like maybe I'm overthinking and she's just like, I want you guys to be safe. Don't mind me. Like, go protect yourselves and I'll figure this out. Even if it doesn't follow like the order of deaths, I guess.
I think that's the sentiment is just like you're saving your sibling or your family or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think in the moment it's probably just like you need to get someone to say because the idea is that if the mom is safe, then she can't die, I guess. Right. So
true, because I forgot. So I've been mentioning these people wrong the whole movie. That everyone who I was talking about was cousins. So her and her brother are the only two So it's like the way, and again, like this is like a messy, but the bloodlines, like it's like it goes through like her cousin's family first, because like
before getting to her,
that's
family.
older in the bloodline. So like so it's like basically like the final cousin died with the spring. So it's like, all right, that family lineage is done. So now it's like the mom next. So okay, that makes sense.
It goes from like each family to the next, and then when one family's done, it moves on to the next. Yeah. So like,
so the mom would be next.
Yeah. I think the thought process is like get inside, because as long as she doesn't,
got it.
Yeah, doesn't die, then she'll get the seatbelt loose or whatever.
Mm-hmm. But of course she ends up dying after saving her son from the debris. She does die, and then Stephanie would be next, and we see her die by drowning, but her brother revives her, saves her, and based on what we learned from JB, Tony Todd, and from what we know from Final Destination, they should be fine now because she died and she came back to life. And that's how it appears to be. We go through the end of the movie. We see Charlie going on a prom date. They're all kind of living happy together. Things seem fine. Seems like Stephanie's getting her head back on her for school, and things are just, happy-go-lucky. Very similar to maybe it's only one sticking out in my head, but I'm sure other Final Destination movies have done it. But it reminded me a lot of Final Destination 1, I guess, where you get the end where they're all like, oh yeah, that was crazy. We're all saved from it. Like, let's put that in our past. We can move on with our lives. And then you realize like, oh no, actually something's wrong here. And again, just like it's such a dryly funny scene where like they're like at like a pre-prom like thing with all the parents. And
like taking pictures. Yeah,
this is my brother. Like, yeah, I heard you saved her life. He's like, yeah, I resuscitated her when she was drowning. And then like this douche dad's like, didn't actually
like not really dead. Yeah,
didn't actually die. Like loser. Like she was just unconscious, and you revived her CPR. Just hilarious how like this random dad is just like, not impressed. You didn't actually die. But then we kind of get the big, she didn't actually die. The curse is not broken. And then a train derailment happens from the penny that we've been seeing from the very beginning with the penny from the tower. Just gets stuck in a little train track switcher. Train derails, runs rampant through the streets, almost kills both of them, doesn't, and then in just like a perfect fashion, like logs from Final Destination 2 fly out from the train car, killing both of them, barely killing Stephanie right before killing her brother, and they're both dead, and that's the end of the movie. So thoughts on the ending of this movie?
I think it's great. I think the one thing when you're describing it again that I love that is just like a little detail, whether or not it's like planned to be this way or if it's just like a thing that happens because of how the movies work, is just like death having a sense of humor and like perfect comedic timing, where it's like they could have killed them at any point and it waits until someone reminds them. It's like, oh, by the way, you didn't actually die, and then immediately like death is like, fuck you guys. Like it's very funny that it has that like sense of humor about it, which is true to all the movies, but it's, I mean, especially so in this one. I think the ending's great. I mean, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I think because of how the movie is focused on generational trauma and it's passed down, you gotta like close the circle. Like, as much as you care about the main characters, it's like they also have to die, and it's like some people might hate that, but I'm like,
it hurt extra in this movie for sure, because the plot really does make you care about them so much, and they are such a great brother sister duo that you're like, damn.
Exactly. And so I had like a big smile on my face when it ends with just them dying, because I'm like, man, I wish they didn't, but it's funny that they did, because it's just like it ties the whole movie together. Like it kind of had to happen, and in a lot of ways it plays with some of the stuff I was mentioning, where it's like you have a character who's smart enough to defeat it, and still, you slipped up and all this stuff, and you have characters that you really care about, and so it sucks a little more when they die. But it makes it a fun movie. So I really like the ending.
And that leads us into the credits, which the penny from the train derailment from the tower is rolling past a bunch of newspaper headlines, bringing us through the franchise of all these different deaths we've seen throughout the years of this franchise, and then kind of fades to black, giving us a tribute to Tony Todd, while also kind of implying like, there's still a bunch of newspaper clippings to go, and that's kind of probably alluding to the fact that we're going to get more movies here, because Nothing really was broken in this movie curse wise. It'll be really interesting to see where they go from this, because clearly there's more families, or there's going to be more deaths that are going to be affected. So Final Destination 5 really set up for the fact that like everything's connected, and this movie really took that to heart and really connected everything, the bloodlines and Iris and everything she put together. We'll be interested to see where they go from here, because we don't really I mean, sure, someone could like find this book or something, and I feel like that might be a way that they have going forward. Someone somehow finds this book of stuff, but from where we're at right now, it makes it seem like whoever's next or whatever's going to happen next, like they're not going to have all this background knowledge that Stephanie and Iris and all them had. So that either leads them to be able to just completely, it gives them a lot of options, because they can either do the thing where someone finds a book and continues from there, and we can keep building on this bloodline rich lore, or they can just completely basically scrap that and say, all right, we're fresh now. This book's in the past, and now we're just going to popcorn movies, just keep cranking them out, and just different premonitions, different deaths. So I don't know if you have any ideas of where you think the franchise kind of goes from here, because critically this is being like really well received, and I think it's going to, like most horror movies kind of do, it's going to do pretty well at the box office. So it would be hard to believe that they're not going to keep rolling with this franchise. So where do you kind of think it might go from here?
Yeah, I hope it's successful, because it is playing in like the same way. Like, next week, for example, Lilo and Stitch comes out, right? And like that's playing into like a crowd of young kids, but also an entire generation of people who are nostalgic for Lilo and Stitch. Like this movie is appealing to an entire generation of people who are nostalgic for the Final Destination movies that they watched growing up. So hopefully that translates in the box office. And if it does, there probably will be another. I'd be shocked if there's not another one after this. The most critically praised movie in the franchise possibly will have the biggest box office in the franchise. And so if that's the case, you kind of have to make a sequel. In terms of like direction for the story, I think it's like totally cool if they just like think up a new idea every time. I don't know if like at this point, especially, I think people know what they want out of the movie. I think as long as they're like smart about it, you don't really have to tie everything together neatly. Like even if you want to pick it apart, even the plot holes don't totally make sense, because or there are plot holes that don't make sense. Like we're talking about the generations and like one family at a time, but then there are, if that's like what started it, then it wouldn't make sense in the other movies for people who aren't related to be dying one by one, like so quickly in that order. Like it doesn't have to all be perfect. It's fine. Like as long as in the world of the movie that we're currently watching, it makes sense, it'll be fun, So whatever they want to do with the story, I'm on board. If they want to do another approach like this, I guess the only issue is that the thematic ties are going to have to be different, unless you just make a second movie about generational trauma, which, if it works, it works. But also it'd be nice if there's a different approach. So I do like how, because, this is also coming off of 5, which like 5 is connected because they all are at the same workplace. And so I don't think it's a bad idea to keep going in that direction, where it's like, how do we tie a group of people together, rather than just like, it starts with like high schoolers, obviously, and like just like you're at the same high school, but now it's like the same workplace. Now we're getting just like a family. So if they could find ways to just like tie a group of people together and make the story about that works for me, because then it's, I think, really easy writing wise to get us all invested in the relationships that these people have with each other, and emotionally invested in the characters.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go, because the John Watts of it all, being the producer and the story of this, maybe he has that MCU brain poisoning him, and they're going to start thinking that everything's have to be connected, and we're going to have to like focus really hard on this connected universe and try and like relate things to each other.
Previous movies,
right? Yeah. Where like you said, I think that's the best way to go about it, is just like create rules and stick to them for that movie, but you don't have to worry too much about the rules carrying over from movie to movie, because like it's fun when they're connected. Like Final Destination 5 ending, I loved. And then this whole movie where everything's connected, awesome. But like, you don't need to do that. So it's just hopefully they don't get too franchise brained and like start trying to connect everything. And I mean, if they do and it works, awesome, more power to them. But like, I hope that doesn't become like a pitfall where they're gonna start just trying to make everything so intricately connected and crossed over that it's going to lead to a lot of just mess and confusion. But I mean, we both really enjoyed this movie. 4 stars from K Meeks, gonna be 4 stars from me as well. All right, now we're gonna run through our ranking of the franchise movies first. So we're gonna do a ranking of the movies, we're gonna do a ranking of the premonitions, and then we're gonna do a collaborative ranking of the deaths. So I know I told you to prepare a list of the deaths, so we will do that last. First, we're just gonna go through our ranking of the movies from least favorite to favorite, and we'll kind of give our high level thoughts on the movie as a whole when we go through each of those rather than kind of going through the franchise one by one. So there's 6 movies. What do you have in your last? I think we both probably the same last place, right?
Yeah.
Like Final Destination 4.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this movie just really sucks. Like I really hate this movie.
Same.
It's just kind of abandons everything the first 3 do in terms of setting up like creative kills, an intriguing premise. I think the premonition is the lamest as well, which we'll talk about when we do our premonition rankings, but like the NASCAR race, and then just like a very like on the nose racist, like you said, like it's like when you have like a racist like Nazi and they die, it's like, yeah, like that's what you'd expect. Like I know it's like there's no like in Final Destination Bloodlines, like you feel it, like it hurts when like people die. Where I guess we're not in spoilers of Bloodlines anymore, so I won't spoil anything. But this movie just stings. Like I think the big thing is like 3D was just a big thing. Like 2009 is when this came out. I believe that's when the first Avatar came out, which like really set 3D ablaze. But even before then, like everything was trying to be 3D that really didn't need to. And I think that just really killed a lot of these deaths because there's so many of these. They just clearly shot them in a way like if 3D didn't exist, like I don't think the cinematographers or directors would be shooting many of these deaths the way they did. I think they were handcuffed to frame a lot of the shots in this film to be like, we need something to pop out at the screen. They were just so focused on that it made a lot of the movie just look really lame and ugly. But yeah, this is the only movie I truly hate for the franchise. And I know it's probably the same last place for you. So if you have any thoughts on the Final Destination from 2009.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the 3D stuff, it's like one bother. It's something that I'd be able to overlook more if everything else about the movie was better. It's not. The deaths are the worst by a mile. I mean, really, real lack of creativity. Most of them are all pretty much like high impact, fast deaths as opposed to like big setup deaths. The one setup I will say when we talk about like deaths in the franchise as a whole, there's one in this movie where I'm like, that's good. It's not enough to save the movie. And also it just abandons a lot of what makes the movies work otherwise. It's not even just like that the deaths are lame. It's also like, you know, I think the movies, whether or not the insight is like profound is an argument. Obviously, I don't know if they ever reach that height, but they do offer like interesting perspectives on death, this thing that we're all scared of and that we all think about. And this movie gets like, you know, the saving grace of this movie is this character George, who brings in the only interesting idea to the movie, that he has done something terribly wrong and almost accepts death because he thinks he deserves it because of this awful thing that he did. And it really would be a fascinating idea if you put it in any other movie. It's like brought up and abandoned in this one. And the way that he dies and how sudden it is and how frustrating that is as a viewer is like, you know, like once you abandon that, what else does this movie have to offer? So that's kind of my perspective on it. Is like it goes wrong in every direction you could imagine. Writing, kills, anything you want, any way you want to look at it.
Yeah, it's almost like hard for me to explain like why this movie sucks so much to some. Like if you're listening to this part of the podcast and you've never seen any Final Destination movies, it's kind of hard to explain like why this one sucks. To me, it's like the way I want to describe it is like the kills in this movie are like eye roll stupid kills, but the kills in the other movies are like fun, creative, like, and like to like a person who's like just not even into horror, like death horror like this or anything like that, or any of these movies, it's like kind of hard to explain. Like, yeah, like the kills in this movie are like silly, stupid. The kills in other movies are like silly, awesome because they're like creative and actually put thought into them. But the rest of the rankings, I think, are tricky. So I want to know what's your 5th place, because this is where we're probably going to get different. But
yeah, I mean, like you said, I think after that, I mean, I said it at the beginning of the episode. It's like it's such a consistent franchise. I could really flip this order 4 different ways and be pretty happy with it. I think I settled on my number 5 spot, and this is probably going to be controversial. The first movie.
Same for me, so not controversial.
Right.
But yeah, this is the one that starts it all off. It's the airplane premonition. Weirdly, so like I also grew up with this franchise, but only the first three. I'd never seen the fourth and fifth until just recently. But the first three, I saw a bunch. I think the second one specifically, I remember being like syndicated on cable all the time. And the third one I had on DVD, so I watched it a bunch. The first one was the one that when I watched it in this rewatch, I was like, I don't really remember this at all. So I don't know if this one just didn't get on cable as much. Because I remember always seeing that log scene. I don't know why, like on like FX or whatever it was on, but I don't really ever remember seeing much of the first one. But yeah, there's nothing. I mean, it's not that there's like negatives that I say about this movie. It's just like I just didn't love it as much as the other ones. Like this is a huge step up. This is still a 3-star movie for me. Like I still like it way better than 4. But yeah, it's fun. Sean William Scott was like a big like snap finger at screen. I was like, oh shit, I didn't remember you being in this.
Awesome
but
that he's in it.
it sets up the movie or sets up the franchise in a solid way, and it gets called back to obviously in a later movie. But I don't know. There's like the thing is with this one, there's not a bunch of standouts. Like every other movie, I can vividly say like, yeah, that kill was from this movie. This movie is like a bunch of like where, like I'm looking at my kill list ranking right now, and it's like, do I even have in my personal top 10 any from this movie? I'm trying to see.
Oh, really? Okay. I have one.
Oh, I have one. I only have one in my top 10 personally.
I think there's one in this movie that is really one of the best kills in the entire franchise, but I don't want to spoil.
I would agree if we're thinking about the same one, but we'll see when we get to collaborative ranking what we get on, which will start soon. But there's one I think is up there. But other than that, like they just weren't that memorable to me. So is this the one that has the guy getting like strangulated in his bathtub?
Yes.
So what's interesting about that death is, so in every death in this franchise, we see like, well, a lot of them we see like Rube Goldberg machines that happen, if a lot of unlikely things happen to make it so someone dies. Whereas that's like the only one I ever remember in the franchise where we like see death as like an actual like breathing, living like entity, because this is one where like his like toilet floods and like, so like the water shoots out and then it kills him and the water like comes back in. Whereas like every other time where someone dies, like a bunch of unrealistic things happen. But this is like the only death I remember the franchise. I could be totally blanking, where like you actually see death like acting in a way. It like felt like an entity where it's like
I think they imply it in other movies, but it doesn't look like this in other, because obviously like a big thing in other movies is that most things just kick off with like the wind or something, and so it's implying that it is. That's why like even in the one we just talked about, the wind chimes are such a big like deal in the new movie. Like it implies it, but this is you're definitely right in saying that it like you can see that it's doing it with this death.
Whereas it's not like a soup can where you're like rolling off and hitting the button, where it's like this one you see like and it was like kind of, because I didn't remember that. Like I said, the first one I didn't remember as much, so I was like fascinated. It was like, oh shit, like this is like, okay, it's like moving in, where I agree that that's always there lingering as like a presence. But anything else you want to say on the first Final Destination?
The reason why it's lower on the list for me is not even a fault of the movie. It's just like, it's kind of a standalone movie. It feels like it's kind of awesome that it spawned a franchise, obviously, that we like so much, but it almost doesn't feel like it's supposed to, because it came out in 2000. It feels very much like that era of horror, and it is like high schoolers in a real like dramatic setting dealing with what's going on. And every movie after this, they play way more into what we now see as the trademark of the franchise, this like ridiculous over the top deaths, and it has a sense of humor. This movie is like a drama, and so from that perspective, I'm like, I can appreciate that. I can appreciate how much of like early 2000s horror movie this is. It's just not what I love about the franchise, and so that's why it's lower on the list. But I still think it's really fun as like its own thing. I think Clear is a really good character with a really strange name. I don't know that anybody in real life has ever been named Clear, but yeah, she's like one of the better characters in the franchise. Like you said, it's funny that like Stifler's in it, and like he's like, I mean, his death is also pretty fun in this movie. I really like that. It's not quite like top 10 ever level, but it's on the brink. It's pretty close, just because of how funny it is. It's a really good movie. It's just the fifth best Final Destination movie.
Right. Yeah, Stifler's death was like the kind of like the first to kick off the trope of the franchise of like the person giving the grandstand speech of like, I'm not dying. Look, like I was supposed to die. I'm surviving. Which just became like a fun, like recurring trope in every movie that kind of followed after this. Also you find out like which again, another snapping fingers at screen thing because I again didn't remember the first one much before this rewatch. I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's why it's called Final Destination. Like I just always thought it made sense with death, but I guess it's just like like in the movie, like, oh, your Final Destination's France, like for like where you're like
right,
your plane ticket's going. I'm like, oh, that makes like way too much sense for me to like never have like caught on to like the reason it's called Final Destination is like where your final destination is, where your luggage is going on this flight. So I was like, yeah, I'm dumb for never getting that. But
you
number
don't quite
four
think about it. Number four for me, and this is so tough to say because I feel like this movie, there are some people who really like believe this is the best movie in the franchise, and I would not argue with them at all. But I'm going to put it at number 4 because it's just like, I don't know. I have reasons, but it's number 2. Number 2 is my place movie.
I thought you were gonna say something else. It's also number 2 for me, so we're not disagreeing too much on this here.
We're like,
But and we'll get into this when we get in the collaborative ranking. I think like kill wise in this movie, I think are a lot of incredible kills, and obviously the premonition I think is the most iconic by a big stretch. The logs, they use it in the marketing for this movie coming up, or Bloodlines, which just came out. But the premonition, like it's just an all-timer. Everyone in our age group like knows, like if you see a truck like this, you're immediately thinking about this movie. And there's so few, not even just horror movies, like movies in general that have that iconography to where if you see something, everyone in the world is going to immediately think the same thing. And it's like a log truck, really any truck that's just like carrying some sus stuff in the back. I'm like, fuck man, Final Destination 2. But I think the kills in this are great. This is also the first where you kind of like learn about if you kill someone else, like you can take their life or whatever, or like about the whole like chain breaking the chain of command. I don't know if the killing's in there, but I think what's an interesting note about Final Destination 2 is I feel like this franchise unintentionally, or maybe I don't know. I feel like it's unintentionally comes out as like pro-life, because to break the chain, you need to have a baby. And they say like the baby has to be born, like come out of the body to be like a life that like counts to break like the chain. So when I was watching, I'm like, oh, it's like, I don't know if that's what they're intending here, but they're technically like kind of like pro-life here for like a franchise all about death. Cause like, oh, like the baby has to be like actually birthed and born to like break this curse of the chain. So I was like, it's a funny little note from this franchise from 2003. But yeah, I think this movie like had nothing negative I can say. I think a lot of the kills are awesome. I like the characters. I don't know what I can't really pin anything on this being 4th, other than just saying like I like the other 3 better. Is there anything about Final Destination 2 that like holds it back for you, or you think is a negative of it?
Yeah, I think it's like, from my perspective at least, this is the kill movie. Like when if you're just somebody who does not care at all about movies and you just want to watch people die, this is the Final Destination movie for you. I just think there are other movies, and now especially with the release of the new one, there are other movies that take the kills to the same level and are also just better movies. Like that's the only difference. Is like for example, I really feel this way about my number 1 pick, which I'm not going to spoil yet, but like my number 1 pick, I think has kills on the same level as the second one and is just direct better. Like it's just a better movie. So it's not even like a knock on the second, because I really don't think that with my next pick, my 3rd place pick, it's crafted better than the number 2 movie. So when I'm picking between those, it's a real toss up. But like the other movies, I think as long as the deaths are as gnarly as they are in the second movie, any movie that like has more positive attributes, I'd probably give the edge to, because the second one just isn't directed as well as like my top pick, or isn't written as well as some of the other ones. So that's nothing's holding it back. I love the movie. It's just there's movies that are better.
Yeah, that's very fair. We're now in the top 3. Which for me, these are all really neck and neck to me. What are you going to put in your 3rd place definitively?
Yeah, this one used to be my favorite. The rewatch I don't even want to say the rewatch made me reshuffle it, because I think maybe even before the rewatch, I kind of leaned away from it now as I've aged. But number 5 is my number 3 pick.
I'm also there, but these are all neck and neck to me that on any given day. And I don't know. I've only seen this movie once, so I haven't gotten the benefit of you with the rewatch, but all I know is the movie itself, I really liked the entirety of the movie. I think there's some good kills. Didn't love the premonition. Honestly, when the movie starts off, I was kind of a little worried. I was like, I hated 4 so much. I'm like, this premonition not really doing it for me. The way Todd Packer from The Office dies is like a very 3D-esque way as well, where he like gets impaled and it's like, I'm like, oh god, here we go again. Is this gonna be like another? But everything, which is weird because like everything after the premonition I really liked. I thought the premonition looked really shoddy with the CGI of the bridge collapse, but then all the deaths, I thought the plot was pretty solid as well with the lore that it continues to build on. But then like the final scene is like just made me feel ways that it's like it's just probably like cheap and like stupid and like like whatever, like a sneak prequel is like maybe just a cheap way for people to like monkeys clap their cymbals together. I know a lot of people feel that way about the end of Babylon with that montage, which I get like everyone hates, but like to me I was like, man, I'm eating this up, sorry. And I ate it up with Final Destination 5 and I was like, hell yeah, man. I was like getting tingles all over. I was like, this is insane that they're doing this. So I think that like really raised it a lot for me on first watch, where like immediately after I'm like, this might be the best one. But also there's some kills in this that are incredible that we're surely going to talk about in our collaborative ranking, but it's falling at third for me. But I really love this one. Like, there's like a 4-star for me, even though I know like it's pretty divisive. Like, it's still got a pretty rough letterbox rating. And I saw some people posting their Final Destination rankings and some people aren't quite as high on 5. So
yeah, I think from my perspective, it's just a lot of like, this is the movie that I've watched the most times. And so if I had a different perspective on the franchise, just like from my personal experience, I'd probably put 2 above this maybe, but I'm like so tied to this movie because it's the last one that came out, but then that also means it came out at the perfect time, where it's like came out in 2011. I, watched it at home so much after that. And so like my teen years being just me looping Final Destination 5, like, and then just like watching it over and over again, it gives it a little bit of an edge.
Now in our top 2, we've had the same exact ranking so far. What's your number 2?
This could literally change tomorrow. But for right now, I'm going to try to not overreact and put Final Destination Bloodlines at number 2 and put Final Destination 3 at number 1.
That's fair. I am going to overreact right now. I know I said it was like a gut time decision. I'm going to put Bloodlines at 1, specifically just looking at like Tony Todd on my screen. Just remember that scene. Incredible. And we're not in the spoiler section, so I won't talk about too much more. And obviously we just talked about it for like an hour. So the Bloodlines I'm going to put at number 1. Final Destination 3 I'll put at number 2. Final Destination 3, I think prior to 5, the newest one, had like the best collection of actors. And it's just the most iconic to me growing up with it, like the most nostalgic, had it on DVD. I was not a horror movie kid at all. Like, I hated them. Like, I was like terrified. Like, I was too scared to watch Shutter Island with my parents. Like, when they got to the island, there was like the shushing old lady. Like, I had to go to my room, like, nope, I'm out. Like, that's how like little horror I watched. So I had this on DVD in my house. And I always like treated as like I remember at my cabin, my stepmom's cabin growing up, they had the book of The Exorcist. And even just being in the same room as that, I was like, can't even, fuck this. That was the same with DVD. I was like, this is like a scary movie. I don't even want this in my house. But then when I was like in high school, I watched with my friends, like, oh yeah, it's throwing a scary movie. We watched it. And then I was like, oh shit, like these are like campy, funny, hilarious, like great times to watch with friends in a crowd. Completely flipped my whole perspective on the franchise, because the only other time I'd seen it was like when I was way younger. I was like, this is the scariest thing ever. But no, this movie's so fun. Classic Final Destination movie. Premonition's incredible with the carnival, all the way to the very end. I mean, Mary Elizabeth Winstead is just great. But I think nostalgia of just like this being like the Final Destination movie I grew up with is like the ultimate one for me. But I'm going to put Bloodlines on 1. Just why not? And again, this could all change tomorrow. I could rewatch them. 5 could be my number 1. Like the top 3 to me are also neck and neck. But yeah, what's your story with Final Destination 3?
Yeah, with 3, it's kind of like the same thing that I said as with 5, where it's like also nostalgic for it. Probably the one that I've seen the second most times behind 5. And then it's just like a better movie in every way. It's like, from my perspective, it's like you said, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, greatest performance in the franchise, probably. The whole cast is pretty good. The premonition's great. The deaths. This is kind of what I was referring to with the 2 versus 3 debate, where it's like if you took the quality of deaths in 2 and just directed a way better movie. Like, it's just like visually it's more appealing. The like story wise, I think it's more appealing. It's just, from my perspective, a step above the rest. Though I don't know if it's a step above Bloodlines. That's what I'm saying. Where it's like I really want to see Bloodlines in theaters a second time, because that's just how much fun I had. And I think if I go see it a second time, you know,
You'll get the bump.
I might change my mind. It might be number one, but it's like I've seen 3 and 5 like at least, you know, 10, 15, 20 times. And then on top of that, it's like these are all deaths that I watched growing up repeatedly on YouTube, where it's like you're with a group of friends and you're like, let's watch Final Destination in the same way that you would watch like Saw Traps or something, you know? And so I like, it's really hard to separate that bias, but you know, if I see Bloodlines a second time and I like it as much as I did the first time, it's probably number one.
Yeah, I think this one of the movies to me has the most director flair and sauce as well. Like you get split diopter shots of when Mary Elizabeth Winstead's like on her computer and then her sister walks in the back. You get the incredible transition between the tanning beds and the coffins. Like there's just like moments in this movie where I was like clapping. I was like, that well done, bravo. Like it's made very well. And also the DVD growing up, it was like a choose your own adventure, which was epic. Like I remember like the guy who dies from the billboard at the end from the fireworks. You get to like choose. I remember that one specifically is like, do you want the billboard to like smash him or cut him in half? And it was like, you could do that for like a lot of the deaths in the movie, which is just like so cool. Like we always talk about it, like how DVDs used to be way cooler than they are now.
Yeah, than they are now.
You'd actually have like thought put into them. But yeah, that's what my number 2 is. And 1 would be Bloodlines. That's a ranking of the franchise. Now, quickly, what's your premonition ranking? So we talked about this yesterday in our text, like how when we were going to rank the deaths, I was like, I always treat premonition separate because they're like a whole different like entity, and there's so many more deaths, and it's like such a big thing. And most of the time, especially with the newer movies, they dedicate like the first like 20, 25 minutes to the movie as opposed to like 3 minutes for a kill. So we'll rank those separately. So what's your just all the way from 6th place to 1 of the premonitions?
Read them down the list.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't really, I was going to say there's like some where I was indecisive, but for the most part, I think I kind of know where I'm at, which I would say last place, the Raceway death. I mean, just bad. Then 5th place, I have the bridge death. In 4th place, I have the first movie's plane crash. In 3rd place, I have the tower from Bloodlines. In 2nd place, I have the roller coaster from Final Destination 3. And then, like you said, the most iconic premonition in the franchise for pretty much everybody is the logging truck in the 2nd movie.
Yeah, mine's gonna be very similar. 6th place, clear last place by a mile is the NASCAR race from Final Destination 4 or the Final Destination. And then 5th place is going to be the bridge collapse from Final Destination 5, which I said I love the rest of the movie, but I think the premonition is pretty weak in that one. 4th is going to be the plane crash. It's the one that kicked it all off. I mean, it's fun, it's cool, but it just doesn't reach the level of iconicness of the other ones. 3rd place, I'll go the roller coaster from Final Destination 3, but I think it's great. I think it's awesome. A lot of creative ways people die in that one as well, of like trying to hold on to the roller coaster not surviving. 2, then I'll go Bloodlines, the tower collapse, and then 1, the log just truck is unbeatable. So I think the only thing we flipped is a Final Destination 3 and Bloodlines from our rankings, but they're clearly to me like it's like the NASCAR and bridge are like clearly the worst. The plane is just like the most whatever, okay, and then the rest are like all pretty great. But yeah, let me share this screen now, and we will do our collaborative ranking of the deaths or the kills, however you want to refer to them, of the movie. Okay. So I had it set up for all 3 of us, and me, you, and Seth. But because Seth actually hasn't seen as many of the movies I thought, it's just gonna be us 2, and then Seth and Cam will be joining us after this for the trailers and movie news. But we have A and B. So shout out the Movie Draft Podcast. You know, they always shout out like Screen Drafts Podcast, but we're starting the chain. We'll shout out the Movie Draft Podcast. They can shout out whoever inspired them for it. But Final Destination top 10 kills of the franchise. Like I said, we're not going to be including the premonitions. Drafter A is going to choose 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 with 1 veto. Drafter B 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 1 veto. So nothing really fancy. We're just alternating back and forth. We will. I don't know. Should we include Bloodlines in this? I feel like we could probably talk about them in a way where it's like not too spoilery. And the fact that Seth, because I was like thinking we wouldn't do it because Seth hadn't seen it, but the fact that it's just me and you, like, should we include Bloodlines in our ranking?
I mean, it's up to you. I made a top 10 list without Bloodlines, but I could very easily substitute 2 of the Bloodlines deaths pretty high on the list. I guess it's kind of hard to decide because of how recent they are. Like, I don't know that, like, you know, there's one in Bloodlines that we kind of referred to without spoiling, where it's like, this could be the best in the entire franchise, but it's like, I don't know if I'm ready to call it that after just watching the movie yesterday.
I'm
down to go either way.
Let's do without Bloodlines. So if you listen to that portion of the talk, we talk about all the deaths, obviously, and there's one that we kind of mentioned would probably be near the top of this list. One other one that probably would have made on my top 10 personally as well. But you can listen to that. We don't want to spoil it since we're not in the spoiler section. And because they're just most fun to experience. And even just using like a subtle buzzword, I feel like would kind of give away because there's so much misdirection. So we'll do it without Bloodlines. There's just Final Destination 1 through 5. Do you want to be drafter A or B? I'll let you just pick. Do you want?
Okay.
Not
see the thing about the thing about like the top 2 in the draft is like I feel like it's pretty possible that you and I have the exact same like number 1 at least. So I almost want to just like bank on you getting that number 1 right and take the drafter B spot. But now I'm like nervous that you're not going to pick the same number 1 as me. So I'll, just for the sake of getting my number 1 on the list correctly, I'll take drafter A.
Okay, perfect. So you're going to have picks 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. I'm going to have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 1 veto. So this is tricky because I have the 10th. So I have the first pick here to put the last place ranking of the top 10. And like 10 spot, like anytime, obviously, if you're a fan of the movie draft podcast or any people do collaborative rankings, like the 10 is really where you want to put something you want to include in a list, but like maybe it's not like basically if it gets vetoed, it's probably not going to show up anywhere higher. Unless surprisingly, like I'm going for something that isn't as I don't know. Because we talk about the fourth one being like the worst movie, but I have 2 deaths in there that I think I could see making it. I'm trying to think how I want to rank these, but I'm going to go for the 10 spot. I'm going to go from The Final Destination, the 4th movie, and I'm going to go the escalator scene. So that one's where I'm going.
Okay. I didn't know if that was included on the list, which is why I didn't put it on mine.
Okay.
Because it's like technically, I guess, a premonition where it's like it happens and then it doesn't. So I didn't know if we were like, but it's still that's fine. I'm cool.
Yeah, I guess because it's not like an actual premonition. It's not like the NASCAR race portion of it, but I don't know. I'm going escalator. There's 2, like I said, from this movie. I don't know. I guess if like you didn't want this one, you want to use your veto early, I'd probably just go with the other one from this movie. So
I'm scared that I would use my veto and you would pick a different one from this movie than the one that I want from this movie.
That's interesting.
I think there's 2 deaths better than the escalator death in this movie. And I don't know which one you would pick, but I'm also like fine leaving it off the list. So I won't use my veto yet.
Okay. So I'm curious to see if that one ends up showing up or the other from Final Destination 4 shows up, but the escalator from Final Destination 4 where she gets chewed alive right in front of the guy who's trying to hold her, gnarly, grisly. What are you going for number 9?
Okay, so I have one question. Are we allowed to include for a single spot deaths where it's like kind of a twofer, where it's like in Bloodlines, for example, the signature death that we were referring to is like, more than one person
I think
kind of gets involved, but it's all in like the same motion. Are we allowed to include in one spot?
Yeah, I think that would count as one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that is the case, because now I might just cross off the one from number 4 on my list. I had one death from number 4 at the 8 spot, but I don't think that number 4 deserves that much love. So I might just cross that off. I'm gonna jump ahead to what I had at my number 9 spot and just put it here at number 9. And because maybe my number 10 spot will just get skipped. So at number 9, I'll put from the second movie, the death where the airbag puts the pipe through her head and then the barbed wire fence flies and cuts the guy into 3 pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't even know what to call that. That's like
I put PVC pipe / barbed wire fence.
All right, PVC pipe / barbed wire fence. Final Destination 2. Yep, vividly remember that. It's kind of towards the end-ish when they're driving to the hospital or whatever. And the PVC pipe, barbed wire fence, Final Destination 2. I actually didn't have that on my list. So the fact that you said that you're not going to put the other Final Destination 4 helps me because I think I'll just probably omit that from my list. But yeah, I actually didn't have that on my list. So, but I like it.
iconic death. Definitely not going to veto. But I'm really the fact that we're not putting another Final Destination 4 on here, which I agree with. It doesn't deserve much more love, but it's like, dang, I wish I wouldn't have done the escalator scene then.
Yeah. Well, okay. Are we allowed to like ask what the one you wanted from 4 is? Because if you pick the one from 4 that I like, then I would be cool with it at the number 8 spot. But if you pick the one that I think you might pick instead, then I feel like we just shouldn't include it. But also, it's collaborative, so I don't want to tell you not to include it.
I'm not even going to attempt it at this point because I'm going to go with a different death, and maybe it shows up later, but maybe it doesn't. But I'm going to go with the only one I have from Final Destination 1 on my list.
Okay.
And I'm going to put it here. So I could be just forgetting because it's been so long since I watched that one of different ones, but I think the best one from Final Destination 1 is I just call it the kitchen death, where she's in the kitchen and everything possible is going wrong, and so many times she gets away from it, and just one of the most brutal deaths where like there was no escaping that death is coming for her right then and there, and it was not going to happen any other way. So I have the kitchen one. You have the most memorable part would be when the butcher block of knives like falls and starts like stabbing her all over her chest and stomach. Brutal death, and that's the only one I have from 1. But I'm open to hearing more above it. But
yeah, I'm a little torn here because I could use my veto because I have a different one from number 1 really high on my list, and I could still get that in there. I'm trying to think of where the strategic veto is in terms of like this is the cutoff point where all the ones I have left like have to make the list. You know what I mean? And I don't know if we're there yet at number 8 because this was my number 10, the one that you just put at number 8. But so that means that my number 8, I'm just going to cut off the list. And I feel like my top 7 is almost like these all kind of have to be there. But I'll just to be safe, I'm going to not use my veto and let you put this at number 8 because it was my number 10 anyway. So it's not that far off. If one gets left off the list, it's not the end of the world.
I think I only have 5. I could say that I feel like have to be there. So I'm curious so I'm going to be kind of banking on you to hopefully draft with your picks, the ones that I don't have for my top 5. So we make sure we get the perfect rounded out. Because I think a lot of my top 5 should overlap with you, but we'll see. You got the 7 pick here.
Okay. So I'm going to skip. So that one was my number 10. My number 9 is what I put at number 9. And then my number 8 is from Final Destination 4, but I don't want to put too much Final Destination 4 in here. So I'm going to skip that. And I could put my number 7 here at number 7, but I'm almost inclined to like jump ahead a spot to number 6 in case you pick something that isn't left on my list. So I'll put my number 6 at number 7 and say the weight room head crush is what I'll call it.
Yep, from Final Destination 3, when he's doing a chest press, yelling like "Death ain't got shit on me."
Yeah.
And
one of the great fake outs, I think, in the franchise, just because it spends so much time emphasizing what you think is going to kill him just for something else to kill him.
Yeah. No, the weight room is awesome from Final Destination 3. So far, we have representation from, only one from each movie so far.
Yeah.
That one was not on my list, even though I think it's a great death and definitely not going to use a veto, but just wasn't on my radar. So, which is what I wanted to happen. Because like I said, I only feel really passionate about 5 of them.
Yeah.
So I guess now I have the 6th spot, and I might actually jump up to like, shoot.
Yeah, I'm a little worried now.
So like I've one at number 8 that hasn't been picked yet that I might just like let go by the wayside. Same with number 7. I think I'll go with my true number 6, actually. I will go with from Final Destination 2. So we're turning back to that one. And I'm going with the elevator death from Final Destination 2.
Okay. This is my number 5. So
okay.
I thought you were going to say a different one from number 2, which was my number 7 that I could have just played at number 7.
I have more from 2, but we'll see if I play. There's a couple I've skipped over from number 2 that were on my list lower that I think I'm just going to say like not going to be time for anymore. But the elevator death's incredible. It's one of the longer kills, especially in the earlier movies where you have like again, great fake out as well, where they're trapped in an elevator with this incredibly creepy dude with a bunch of prosthetics. And the tension's building. This guy's super sus, and then ultimately ends up to being, just a great fear that everyone always has of just getting caught in an elevator and not being able to get out and then being fully decapitated. So brutal death, iconic death. That's where I'm putting number 6.
Yeah, I'm cool with that one. There's another one I have from Final Destination 2 at number 7, like I said, but I kind of want to jump ahead just to make sure everything gets on the list, only because I do think 3 of my top 4 are going to be 3 of yours. So I feel like no matter what, those are going to land on the list. The only one that I'm worried would not land on the list then is this one from the first movie.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't have any more from the first movie on my list, so it's definitely not one I would pick. So if you want it on the list, you're gonna have to pick it.
Yeah, I guess I'll put it here. I'm gonna put the first ever death in Final Destination when he's in the bathtub and gets strangled.
Okay, so you mentioned
I think it's I mean, only because, like I said, when we were talking about the movies, I said that this one is like kind of different in tone, but it does establish, like, it is like the most tone establishing death in the entire franchise, where it's like it happens and it is like, unlike most of the deaths in the franchise, really upsetting. Like when you watch it, you're just like, wow, that is like it's like sad and hard to watch, which you can't really say about. I mean, you could say that other ones are hard to watch, but for an entirely different reason. This one, you're like, you feel bad watching it. And so I think being able to do that, it makes it like a real memorable one.
Yeah, you hit on that there. Like most of the deaths in this franchise are like pretty quick or pretty blunt or pretty major, whereas this one's like slow strangulation, takes a lot of time. You think he's going to get out of it, he doesn't. Everything's going against him. It's really hard to watch death for a different reason. Like most of them are hard to watch. You're like, oh, that's so gruesome. This one's hard to watch. You're like, oh, this is like just like kind of just brutal to watch go down to this guy who's just getting strangled. So yeah, I forgot that was the very first one in the franchise, but no, definitely a great inclusion. We talked about it briefly before this as well. So now we're into the top 4, and I only have 2 more picks left. So my top 4 I feel very passionate about, but I don't necessarily feel passionate about the order.
Okay. I do think we'll have stuff in common here. I'd be shocked if we don't.
Yeah, I think okay. So my top 2, I know for a fact, like are going to be somewhere in your top 4 too. So I'm not worried about those. Actually, I'd say 3 of the last 4, I'm like confident we got to be on the same page on. So I guess because I'm not confident on one of them, which would be my number 3, I'll put that at 4. And it's also from Final Destination 2. And it's the fire escape death.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine with me. Okay. That was my number 7 that I referenced.
Yeah. I think this one, again, just great fake outs. Like you think is going to be like an explosion. Well, I guess it technically does. His apartment exploding with the microwave and the burner getting stuck on. And can't remember what it is that gets stuck where he can't like reach the burner. Oh, he gets his hand in the garbage disposal. So it's like, oh, is he going to get mangled in the garbage disposal? Is his apartment going to blow up? Well, both of them kind of happen, but he gets out. Has to go down the fire escape. Just so many misdirections of like, you think he's fine. You think he made it out just for the very end to be impaled by the fire escape in his head. After, again, a fake out of the fire escape hitting his head, gets caught. And he's like, oh, you're good. And then nope, ends up getting him. Great death. And again, I think Final Destination 2, which I think is part of his downfall, which you talked about in our ranking, is like, I think there's a lot of great deaths in the movie, but I think that's kind of like all the movie really brings. So that's my number 4. And I think for me, that's my last from 2. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm really curious to see where you go for 3, because I feel pretty confident about the top 3, but we'll see. You get 2 of the last 3.
I'm going to take a big gamble here and say that we have the same 3 deaths remaining.
I think so too, but I don't know.
And if that's the case, I'm comfortable just playing it in this order. So at number 3, I'm going to put the LASIK death from Final Destination 5.
Yep, that was at my number 2.
Yeah.
LASIK death, Final Destination 5. Yeah, just an evil death. Very evil.
I mean, just so brutal. Like, I forget because it's been a while. Like, now rewatching it, it's been a while. Like I said, I watched the 5th movie so many times, but it has been a number of years since I kind of like was on my Final Destination kick. And so watching it now and remembering how brutal the setup is, because I just remember the idea of like, oh shit, like it's like quick and then she falls out the window, but it's like, it's not quick. Like the eye is burning and she is being tortured for like quite a while. I was like, that is rough. And so that made it shoot way up my list.
I almost wish you didn't pick that, because like I feel like we
You're
have the same
nervous that
top
you're
three,
gonna-
but I was so confident about the top two, and this is my number two. So I was like, I would have loved to just pick this at two because I knew you would have had number one.
Yeah. Now I'm worried I'm gonna have to veto you if we don't have the same.
If you do, that's fine because I'm not like, I don't know. The thing is, one of these two I know for a fact has to be on both of ours.
Yeah.
It's scary, but I'm going to pick the one that I don't think is on both of ours because I think the one that's on both of ours should probably be number one.
Okay.
So I'm going to go my number two pick, which, you know, maybe I don't want to type in, maybe it gets vetoed. I think it's the tanning bed from Final Destination 3. No, that reaction does not seem like it's you.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I'm like scared because it's like, do I? Okay, so here's the predicament I'm in. I'll just spoil my list. This is my number one. And so,
oh, this is your number one.
This is my number one. And so
I picked it purely because I thought you wouldn't. I was worried about this one more than
no.
the
I
other
think
one.
this is the best death in the franchise. I considered vetoing you here to make it number one on our list, but I'm worried that the other death now will not be on both of our lists. So I'll just let it play at number one just to make sure it gets the spot.
No, that's smart strategy because, like, basically, it's like, do you risk a veto to move something up one spot at the risk of having something not even in your top 10 getting placed at number two?
Yeah. Exactly.
Or do you like for sure get something you think is like a top three death without? Yeah. So I think strategy wise is the smartest, even though I think we're on the same page with what the number
I think
one
we
would
are
be.
on the same page. I don't think it would be that much of a gamble to veto you and put the tanning bed at number one, but I'll let it stay at number two. I do think it's the best death in the franchise. I think when you think Final Destination, you think the tanning bed death. Like,
I was worried when I said that. I thought your reaction was like, that's not a top 10 death. I was like, oh,
no.
way off
I
here.
just
I don't even know.
Yeah, I was just hoping we both had it at number one, and that would have made our lives super easy. But it's okay. Number two is a fine spot for it. And number one, I'm going to put the gymnastics death from Final Destination 5.
Yeah. I did not have a spoil for me when I watched it for the first time like a month ago, and my jaw was like not exaggerating on the floor for like 10 minutes afterwards. That's like, holy shit. I had to pause. I was like, what the fuck did I just see? Insane death. And yeah, it's got to be on everyone's top list. Tanning bed's cooler, but this one just so gruesome and in your face and a lot of misdirection as well. I think Final Destination 5 is one of the best in the franchise. Of every death has so much tension and misdirection leading up to it. Like you mentioned, the LASIK death, like before she ends up actually dying, like so much happens leading up to it. But yeah, the gymnastics death is such a shock and awe moment. Just insane death. Just so gruesome, so brutal. You think it's going to happen a couple different ways. And then ultimately the way it happens, you just never see coming. It has to be in the top three. Ultimately one spot works well, but I think the top three for me are like the clear top three personally that we have in our collaborative.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's flipped the LASIK and the bathroom strangulation from the first movie. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, LASIK's right there in terms of just like brutal, awesome deaths. Honestly, 9 out of my 10 picks are on this list. Literally all I would have to do is replace the number 10 pick with a different Final Destination 4 death, and it would be a perfect list for me. The one that I had from 4 is the beauty salon when the stone goes through her head. I don't know if that's the one from 4 that you were also considering, or if you were. I thought you might be thinking of the pool.
I was thinking about the pool, but that was almost like a gas. That's what's on my list, but I almost feel like I'm always gaslit to include that because whenever I start talking about this online with people, they all like. Anytime I rag on 4, they always say like, "Oh, that's like one of the coolest, craziest deaths." I actually didn't even like care for it that much when I watched it.
It's like fine,
but I was like gaslit into thinking it's like I included my top 10 when I posted on TikTok. It's like everyone mentions that as like craziest death, like insane, like people think about it. So I was like,
it's not. I mean, the reason why I like the beauty salon one is because the death itself is kind of lame. Like it's just like the stone through the eye. But it has one of the best like tension building setups. It's the only time in that movie really where they have like a perfect one of those. Like just tons and tons of tension because so much is going wrong in that salon. Like it's like every single thing is like you think it's about to happen and it's like excessive. So I really like that one if I was going to pick one from Final Destination 4. But yeah, it's the weakest movie. We could really make this list without including them at all.
Right, for sure. But I think it's a solid list here. Let us know which ones we missed out. Like comment down below which ones you think we're omitting from the list. But here's our collaborative ranking, and this kind of wraps up the Final Destination talk of the episode. So we'll get into like the standard trailers and movie news stuff now. All right, now jumping into trailers and movie news, and we got Seth and Cam back here after the Final Destination talk. So Seth has
Seth.
arrived on his bus and gotten home. But let's go through trailers.
Why are you on a spaceship?
Because my background's so plain, I'm using virtual backgrounds. I started last week or on the Real Quick and Patreon with George. We've just been doing fun different backgrounds. But yeah, so trailers, we got the big one trailer for Superman been released. The latest trailer, we've had them before.
Peak!
There you go. Brick
Trailer
house
for Peak.
Superman trailer in theaters July 11th, which is sneaking up on us. Like with Mission Impossible starting this weekend, we're really starting the summer blockbuster run of really kind of major releases every weekend. So we don't have to go too much into it because we've obviously had multiple trailers at this point. But what are your thoughts on this, Cam, the Slotmeister? What do you think of this trailer?
It's Peak, man. A hopeful Superman, a joyous Superman. There's love in the world. There's happiness in the world. It's awesome. The trailer itself, I like it. It brings me joy. Makes me excited for the movie. There is controversy online, not controversy, but there is commentary online around how it looks. Might not be the best looking trailer of all time, but the content within it made me very excited. There's a lot of color. There's a lot of Lois and Clark interaction, which brings me joy. You get to see Mr. Terrific. You get to see the I believe they're called like the Justice Guardians or something right now. Obviously it's not the Justice League, but they have their own Justice Guardians or something because people are mad that it's like James Gunn's initials or something like that. People just like to be mad at Mr. Gunn. But the discourse online right now is going to make me blow my brains out before this movie comes out because I just the Snyder fans have taken over my timeline. And I don't know if I'm in the minority with this one, but I'm excited for Superman very, very much. I very much can't wait. I like Man of Steel. I like Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition. The Zack Snyder's Justice League is good. He got his trilogy. It's over. Move on. Fuck you. That was maybe a little too aggressive.
Seth,
But I'm excited.
what do you think?
I think it was cool. I'm not a crazy Superman guy anyway. In terms of him as a super, I mean, I like the original, but outside of that, it's whatever. I think Man of Steel is cool. I think it looks all right. I'm not crazy excited about it, and I do share a lot of the kind of visual discourses going around. I don't think it looks great.
But there's that one shot of through the clouds that really looks great. So one in the whole trailer is fantastic.
By any means,
We'll
right?
take it.
I just don't love the aesthetic of it. You might have seen shout out K Meeks' good friend Douglas, that side by side with the Flash. The same
cinematographer.
Was Doug the one who posted that, or did he just
No, Doug just did his classic Doug thing. It was the Flash actually looks better than this. It's just
Yeah.
Doug thing. But there are genuine. I just think the aesthetic isn't really my thing. But I'm generally quite excited. I think it'd be good. I like James Gunn. That's always a positive. I think he's one of the best guys in that world. But it's not something I'm crazy about by any means, to be fair.
Kevin?
Boo.
Yeah, listen, the last thing I'm going to do is come on this podcast and ruin Cam's pride and joy.
Boo.
I'm not going to be
Right.
mean to Cam. So all I'll say is that
You can.
I'll probably watch the movie. I'll probably go see it.
I think maybe Cam, whoever mentioned it, I think the content I'm excited for. I think the relationship between Lois and Clark looks like the best we've seen. I don't know. I didn't really care for Cavill and Adams. They didn't do it for me. I think the relationship between the two, I think looks like a major standout of this film, a highlight. And then Nicholas Hoult looks like he's going to be awesome in this role.
Very bold.
But as regards
Very
to the look and stuff of the movie, I don't care. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was terrible. But I think the content that they're showing, I think has potential. So, but again, similar to what Seth said, Superman's never been my a hero that I care
That's
for.
because
love
they've
like
done
much.
them so poorly in media.
They
'Cause
have.
I know you're not reading comics, obviously, but like they've done them so poorly in the movies.
Well,
No, so
I mean, the
not
original Supermans are pretty all right.
Yeah, they've done them well, but I guess you're right in
They're
the sense
not.
of like
They're
Batman and Spider-Man are like forced way further down.
Superman's kind of like too overpowered for me to care about that much.
That's why I like that they're very clearly like doing a Superman universe that like he can be in. Like in the DCU, yeah, I agree. He's way too overpowered. In this universe, they got kaiju flying around and shit. That's fun.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I suppose.
Awesome.
I suppose.
We got
this idea that like this universe has superheroes, but they're like corporate cogs of the wheel, and then Superman is like this beacon of hope. That's cool. Superman's happy and hopeful. It's cool.
Your moment.
If this sucks, I might. I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself, guys.
We also got the final trailer for From the World of John Wick Ballerina, which is coming out June 6th.
Is that the full title?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
that's even worse than like Furiosa and Mad Max Saga. Yeah,
that is shit. I don't know. I'm like, I think it was pretty cool.
Shout out Ana de Armas.
Yeah, I'm pretty
like franchise. I don't know. I'm not that excited for this, but I'm never really excited for much of the John Wick world.
It's tumbling down the slop hill right now.
It is. Even if
tumbled down the slop hill when it was John Wick 2.
Yeah, it's undeniable.
This movie. Actually, the Continental officially slopified it.
I was gonna say like John Wick like already was slop. Obviously, it's a franchise. They're just trying to make money, but the John Wick movies were like very good. Like it's like if they made like 4 spin-offs of Mission Impossible. Like Mission Impossible is slop, but everyone can get.
They made like a Benji movie.
Tom Cruise doing as best as he can. Doing crazy stunts, but if they made like a spin-off on Paramount Plus with like Benji,
like a Luther limited series,
that's when it gets real bad, man.
Yeah. It's I mean, I'll watch it. I don't think it looks bad, but who directed it?
Tom Cruise said it was good. Trust.
Would say it was good.
Trust.
Let me see who directed it. I have no idea.
Wiseman.
Who?
What has he done?
He's not a real director, but
okay. Shout out, Len. He's done Live Free or Die Hard, which is terrible.
Good movie.
He did the Underworld film.
Yeah, one of them.
Written by.
He did a remake of Total Recall. There's a remake of Total Recall with Colin Farrell.
Oh wait, I was thinking when you said Live Free or Die Hard. For some reason, I was thinking of
Get Hard with Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell.
No, I was thinking of like. The Live Die Repeat movie.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Cruise and Edge of Tomorrow. Thank you. That's what I.
That's the real movie. Doug Liman.
Yeah, that is a real movie.
We like that film. We do like that film.
All right, this guy's not real. This dude's not real.
Another trailer. We got another one of that. It's not the first one, but new trailer for Joseph Kosinski's F1 movie. I've had this take from the beginning. I think this movie is going to be bad, and that's my take, and I'm living on it.
There's not a sport I care about less than F1. Sorry to all my F1 guys. So I just don't care.
I'm sure the action sequences of the races are going to be exhilarating because he clearly has that in his bag from Top Gun Maverick. I just think his movie's going to be bad.
Actually, I'm lying. I think it was quite interesting, but I don't know.
I'm not into it. Kevin, what do you think of F1?
Visually,
I'm kind of on the same. I'm in like the middle where I think if you make a racing movie where the racing looks good, I'm probably going to have a good time. I just enjoy that, but I don't watch F1, but I enjoy racing in movies or like cars going fast in movies. But like watching the longer trailers, like the story is really not connecting with me at all. I'm like, I think
the story?
I like Brad Pitt's like an aging driver, and then Damson Idris, I guess, is like on the same team as him, and I think there's gonna be the trailer's like implying that there's some rivalry between them, and like. And Brad Pitt's just on the team because he's like an icon, but he's like washed now, I guess. It's not selling me like story wise.
Did anyone care about Nobody 2 coming out August 15th?
I don't love the first one. I thought it was like whatever.
I haven't even seen the first one.
It's fine.
It was recommended to me. It was recommended to me in like the in our ReelTok Discord where we have like a film weekly recommendation if you want to be a part of that. Like it was recommended to me. It's a fun movie. Nothing wrong with it. Like it's a solid 3.5.
It seems like a movie made for Peacock. Like that's a
That's
movie
fair.
you watch on Peacock right there.
That's entirely
It's
fair,
like-
man.
It's pretty well directed, honestly, from what I remember. It's not like shit by any means. It's just not really like my thing. I think Tyler, I don't think you'd like it. You haven't seen it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like my cup of tea, so
No,
no
not
reason
at
to turn it on. Cam Slopmeister, what's your quick reactions to Ironheart and Spider Noir trailers or teasers?
Ironheart is like I'm not super pumped for the series, but I'm also
Racist.
not gonna be like, no one asked for this.
Misogynist.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's great. That's awesome. I'm obviously gonna watch it. I liked Riri Williams in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Don't love the suit design. I know that's like a fairly comic accurate suit design. I don't necessarily love it in the comics, though. To be fair, yeah, I'm not like pumped for this thing, but I'm also not going to be riding on my white horse to the front lines of like, why was this getting made? No one asked for this. Like, shut up. Just shut up. More people than white men deserve stories. Shockingly, there are more demographics in the world, you jackasses. It's insane. Yeah, but it looks fine. We'll see what happens in Ryan Coogler. They're very clearly leaning into like, hey
Which
guys,
is
he
awesome.
produced this one. Yeah,
That
they're
is like
really
the poster, like half
hammering-
of the poster, just like executive producer Ryan Coogler, and there's like Ironheart in small text.
Yeah, exactly. And he did like an intro to the trailer talking about the character. So maybe he actually had I don't think he like really had anything to do with it. I'm sure he just coughed up some money and gave a little bit of ideas. But maybe he had a lot to do with it and it's actually good. We'll see. Let me tell you, Alden Ehrenreich and Anthony Ramos are not necessarily the villains that get me the needle moving for me, though. So
I like
we'll
both
see.
of them, but I can't really see either of them as villains. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't love Anthony Ramos.
That's fair. I was more thinking I really like Alden Ehrenreich, but
I really like him
not
in
a villain
Hamilton. Really like him in Hamilton. Then after that, basically nothing.
What about Spider
And
Noir?
then Spider Noir, like cool, fascinating that they're going like live action, or sorry, like animated to live action. Like I think that's interesting. Slightly terrified in the Robert De Niro Netflix movie edition. Like what's the movie, Seth, where they de-age
Alto
him?
Nights? No,
Yeah.
Irishman.
Oh, the
The
Irishman.
Irishman, where they de-age him, and like when you see him kicking, like slightly worried, they give Nick Cage some action scenes and make him do too much work instead of a stunt double. But he's got the mask on. I'm sure it'll be a stunt double.
I think it was cool. I like the idea. I just like more Nick Cage, to be fair. Is it confirmed if it's just like a single season, or is it like something going to be extended?
Probably depends on
sure.
how it goes.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a money thing. I can see by Kevin's face. He's just enlightened right now.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about, really. I
Have you
saw
not
like
seen it,
one.
Kevin? The Noir series.
I saw like, is there a trailer? Or did
No,
they
it
just,
was like a look.
teaser.
It was like a
Okay,
look.
yeah. So I like saw that they announced it. I thought there was a trailer or something.
No, I don't think it was a trailer yet.
Yeah, I'm not excited for either Ironheart or Spider Noir, but it has nothing to do with anyone involved or anything about him. It's just not something I would gravitate towards regardless. Movie news, most of this is kind of just run through them. First off, major blow to my weekend in life. Outdoor Boys has ended. Brutal news for me. My favorite YouTuber has brought me and my fiance so much comfort. Big bummer. He's I don't know. He said he's posted like 1,000 YouTube videos since like 2006. And so he has like 18 million subscribers now, but like
18 million.
Yeah, but 16 million of those subscribers are from like the last year. So like his fame like skyrocketed. So basically he's like says like it's too much for him and his family. It's him and his boys basically just camping and doing like excursions. And he's like, oh, the fame's too much and it's taking too much of my time. And his kids are starting to get older and he wants to spend more time with them and not just be focused on editing YouTube videos all the time. But my fiance and I are obsessed with Outdoor Boys. We've watched them religiously, brought us so much comfort and joy. Sad it's over. Really big bummer. Was like just devastating news to see. But it was like one we saw coming because like he used to post weekly episodes and then he like went to bi-weekly and he's always talking about like he's getting too old to do all this like survival stuff. So I was like, damn, bummer, ruined my life, honestly, that it's over. Fallout has been renewed for season 3 at Prime Video. Season 2 is coming out December. I know Seth and I were big fans of the first season. My fiance is obsessed with the show and the games, played all the games. I
enjoyed it.
K Meeks, did you watch Fallout?
I watched the first episode. It wasn't bad.
Have you played the games, K Meeks?
Yeah, I haven't played all of them. I've played 2 of them.
I mean, there's like 2 of them that are quite bad anyway, so you don't need to play all of them.
Yeah,
it's cool. They showed like the first look at what New Vegas looks like in the show. So cool. I like Ella Purnell a lot.
I think it was pretty successful in terms of capturing the feel of the world, especially. I really like what's his name in it as well.
Walton Goggins.
Yeah,
he's great in everything. I'm watching the Righteous Gemstones right now. He's awesome in the Righteous Gemstones. He's so funny.
He's really taken over. Which
I like him a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, Fallout. Excited to see more seasons of that. Really like Ella Purnell. Really like the show, and was one of the most rare, because it was generally very well received. For a video game adaptation, which is really rare. So excited to see more of it. I know it's been delayed longer than it normally would have been because of strikes. And I think I thought I remember seeing something about like the wildfires in California was where they were shooting and they had to pause.
I saw that.
Okay, Cam, this question's for you. Marvel Studios updated their yearly output plan to 3 movies, 1 to 2 live action.
Don't we see this news all the time?
And 2 how is this different than what's before? So 3 movies a year, 1 to 2 live action shows a year, and 2 animated shows a year. Is Marvel?
I saw this exact thing and I was like, this feels like a lot still. Like this feels exactly what we're doing. But they
feels like
say
HBO Max and HBO just flipping back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the 1 to 2 live action shows is going to die pretty quickly. I think Ironheart we talked, and then there was also some Wonder Man news this week. Wonder Man is Yahya Abdul-Mateen. Yeah. It's like 8 episodes, 30 minutes coming in December. I just feel like those are kind of the last 2 shows that they're just trying to bury a little bit, unfortunately. I think the 1 to 2 live action shows will die pretty quick. The 2 animated shows make sense. They already have good buzz with the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and then X-Men 97, which I want them to continue to make because those are genuinely good shows. So yeah, I think the live action shows will kind of be what dies quickest, in my opinion. Maximum of 3 movies a year. I mean, yeah, they might hit this. I talked about this. Like, it's just odd. We only have, so I think the big idea is obviously like after Doomsday and Secret Wars, they're going to like pivot to the X-Men, which makes sense, but they only have Spider-Man, Doomsday, Fantastic Four, and Secret Wars on the upcoming agenda. So 4 movies that we know about over the next 2 years. So that's less for, Marvel. Normally we have like a 10-year plan laid out. So we'll see. I think the live action shows is what dies quickest. And yeah, this is stupid. This is just as much as they're making now.
Yeah. So, and then some more just casting news we'll run through quick. Jeremy Allen White. Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna cut you off. Let me share my screen. This. Oh God. Give me.
This has not been vetted. I don't know what he's about to share.
Oh, you'll be fine. I'm not gonna show. First look at Galactus. Come on, look at that. That's good stuff, Seth. What's his name?
Bro, he looks so
Ralph
goofy.
Innocent.
Innocent.
Like
What do you mean something like that? That's
Innocent,
one of the
Ralph
goats, man. How fucking dare you?
I know.
But it says like, so where's the source on the right side? It says promo art. Wasn't that the same thing that they did for like Avengers Doomsday where they had a bunch of promo
that's
art?
Gonna be like,
no. This is leaked from a Snapple. So this is like from a Snapple.
What's a Snapple?
Snapple's a drink. So the unfortunate thing about the like Slopaverse is just simply the fact that Marvel obviously cares way more about money than hiding leaks.
It's leaked from a Snapple.
Well, like they have to send the design to the company for when the movie comes out, like so that as soon as the company gets the design, like some random employee there is like picture.
Some Snapple interns in there. Probably first week of their summer internship right now is like, yo, it'd be crazy if they leaked
exactly. Like they're not even gonna like try to hide that, but like it's already happened with Lego sets and Funko Pops. Like they have to design the Lego before in order for it to come out when the movie comes out, but yeah, I like Galactus's look. He looks comic accurate and not a big cloud. So that's cool.
True. So some casting news to quickly run through. So Jeremy Allen White and Austin Butler are starring in Henry Dunham's crime thriller Enemies for A24. The film follows a relentless detective and an infamous contract killer who collide in a deadly game of cat and mouse. Henry Dunham is not really a real director yet. Looking at some filmography, it only has one thing, never heard of it. The synopsis of this film of two contract killers playing a game of cat and mouse sounds eerily similar to the John Watts Wolves with Brad Pitt and George Clooney, which was awful. So hopefully there's a better cat and mouse of two like hitmen. Enemies. I don't even know if it's on Letterboxd. I didn't see it on Henry Dunham's Letterboxd.
He hasn't. He's made a film called The Standoff at Sparrow Creek, which I
got Anna Sawai as well.
Okay,
so
real people in a movie that I don't know how the turnout's going to be, but you know, those are two. I mean, Jeremy Allen White and Austin Butler kind of going toe to toe. Yeah, I'm going to watch it and I'm going to be excited for it. We've been covering the Hunger Games casting news the past like several weeks as it keeps getting more and more built out, and we just keep getting like nuclear bombs of news of big names. So the biggest obviously being Ray Fiennes being cast as President Snow. So now playing Voldemort and President Snow, two of the most iconic villains in novel history, and Ray Fiennes has got them both on lock. Cool. I know, again, same thing with Philip Seymour Hoffman, Cooper Hoffman. People are saying with Donald Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland. It's like, why didn't they cast him? He'd be perfect. He's the real life offspring. It's like, maybe he doesn't want to play his dead dad. Ever considered that? Who knows? Shocker. Maybe he doesn't want to. I'm sure, like I said, with the Cooper Hoffman, Philip Seymour Hoffman, I'm sure casting departments aren't stupid. I'm sure they went down that avenue. I'm sure they explored it. The Maya Hawke has been cast as Wiress, and Lily Taylor, who's the mother from the original Conjuring movie, is cast as Mags Flanagan. So
the book came out, right?
Yeah, about half a year ago now. Half a year, yeah.
Does anyone have any idea what happens in it?
No, but people really like it.
Yeah,
people really like it. Okay, that's good at least. But like I'm not a Hunger Games reader. I'm not a reader in general. Reading's hard. That's why I watch the motion pictures move through the screen. The Hunger Games themselves, like I don't fully understand it. So Mags is obviously a winner because she was in Catching Fire. But isn't this movie about what's his name winning? Haymitch, thank you. So is this another like quarter quill or something? I don't know. Someone explain to me in the comments.
I believe it's Haymitch winning the games, but I this one I want to try and fumble through. This is something ripe for the comment section to fill us in on the.
Yeah, someone let
without
me know
spoiling. I'm sure some of you listeners have read the book. Like K Meeks said, people have really liked it. I haven't seen really any negative reactions.
That's good. That's good at least. Yeah. You know, I feel like a lot of times like these writers try to put out a swan song to their original like thing that they caught fire with. Yeah, no pun intended. And
good pun.
Yeah, it just sucks.
No, it seems like they have a really good relationship between Suzanne Collins and like the production companies, because basically like the directors and production companies are like, yeah, if she keeps making books, we'll keep making movies, but like neither of them seem like they're doing it out of any like pressure. It's like she's wrote a book, so like, okay, we'll make a movie.
Did you guys watch the last Hunger Games film?
Yeah, I loved it, but no one else watched it. So
I think everyone watched it.
Rachel Zegler, awesome.
Yeah, shout out Rachel Zegler. I thought everyone watched it. What?
No, I didn't. I don't know like anyone who's watched it. Honestly,
I didn't watch it.
I feel like barely anyone.
I thought it was pretty popular.
It was popular. Yeah, it was popular.
The Songbird and Snake.
K Meeks,
did you watch edits of it and stuff? Like,
K Meeks, did you watch it?
Yeah.
Oh,
shout out Rachel Zegler.
It wasn't bad.
And Tom Blythe was good in it. Like, yeah, it was a good movie.
Mm-hmm. It's like really long.
Hunter Schafer.
I hope this new one isn't that long.
Hunter Schafer was in it. It was a good movie. Not bad.
Yeah, I had a good time with it. I'll probably rewatch it before this new one comes out. Then some other quick news: Denzel Washington, Robert Pattinson, Daisy Edgar-Jones starring "Here Comes the Flood" from director Fernando Murray. The film is an unconventional heist thriller about a bank guard, a teller, and a master thief. Sounds awesome until the final line, coming soon to Netflix. Kind of a bummer, but with that cast, how are you not going to be excited? Denzel, Robert Pattinson, Daisy Edgar-Jones. More so the first two are making me most excited.
Isn't that
City of God director?
City of God guy, and the Pope film.
The Pope film. He also did The Constant Gardener, which I've never seen, but people.
Is that one with Ray Fiennes?
Ray Fiennes is in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to gauge how good of a director he is. It's probably leaning on the bad side, but people really like City of God.
Yeah. Cosmo Jarvis is going to star as Joseph Stalin in a biopic, Young Stalin. So
I
that's-
just get tagged every time he's casting something. He's like everyone says I look like this guy.
it's kind of crazy. Like, so this
DMs about it all the time.
he's an English actor, but it's kind of he's like a world traveler with his projects. So obviously he's in Warfare, which is like American military.
You do look
Shogun
like
is what
guy,
he's.
Seth. I'm
He's
sorry to
known for
say.
Shogun.
Seth really looks like him. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Really?
cooking,
You think so?
And when if you watch Warfare and he has his helmet on, you would be convinced that it's.
I've heard people say it's like when he was in Shogun that I look like him. That's what I kept getting messages about when he was in that.
Yeah.
If you throw a dip in, you probably look just like him in Warfare.
They're cooking, unfortunately, Seth. They gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not like.
He's not bad looking.
Yeah,
so
He's
you're
a
fine.
good
you're
looking
fine.
guy.
You're
He
fine.
just
He's a
looks
good looking
guy.
guy. He just looks
exactly
like
you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it.
But yeah, now so he's been in an American military film. He's been in Shogun, and now he's going to be Joseph Stalin. He's just like covering all the continents with his
going through
with his filmography at this point, which is interesting. So I mean, being Joseph Stalin in a biopic about Stalin is we'll have to see what that ends up being like, but intriguing. Zoe Kravitz
or anything.
I didn't see any, but I'm sure there is one. Young Stalin director.
A24.
The director is like this guy has made movies that nobody knows exist.
Oh yeah, I see that. Is this part of the Young Sheldon verse? Is what I'm most curious about.
Sorry.
ReelTok did tweet that.
You
soon
did?
as the news came out. Yeah.
Love that.
What is it? What's his name?
I'm not gonna try to pronounce it.
Oh. Let me see this shit. Oh, here we go.
Gela
Babuani. I don't know what these films are.
Zoe Kravitz was cast in David Leitch's How to Rob a Bank alongside Nicholas Hoult, Pete Davidson, and Anna Sawai. Film follows robbers who share their heists on social media while evading police. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Sorry, this guy made a film with 10K logs and it has Mickey Rourke, Jason Statham, Ray Winston, Michael Shannon, Alexander Skarsgård, and 50 Cent. Maybe I should watch it. That's kind of crazy.
That's crazy.
Sounds like an Expendables type of cast.
It looks really shit.
Yeah.
Speaking of David Leitch, also in talks to direct the Gears of War movie for Netflix. So,
I mean, I played Gears of War. Gears of War was such a cool game, man.
Yeah, I can't imagine this adaptation to turn anything good, especially with David Leitch at the helm and it's being for Netflix. And
yeah,
you're already in a losing battle making any video game adaptation. So everything about this just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
I just think like most games, I just don't think can be translated well, like at all. If you're trying to
most games are like 80 hours, and they're like, "Hey, throw it into 2."
Most games are not 80 hours.
Okay, not 80
I can name
hours.
one game that's 80 hours. Most games are about 50
that was an
hours.
exaggeration. I'm sorry. It's
But
longer than 2.
Yeah,
most games are longer than 2.
We talked about this on our podcast because we're kind of entering the era of like video game adaptations just being super prominent because studios have finally realized that is like this is the best IP to mine. Like if you want, like in the same way that superhero movies are for comic book nerds, it's like these are the people who play video games are the people you're going to get to turn out to the movie theater. Like this is free money if you just keep adapting
like the Elden Ring
games
games we got recently.
Yeah, but it'd be cool if they picked good directors to adapt these because some of this is like such rich storytelling property just for them to get like David Leitch to do it. It's like kind of a shame.
But David
Leitch on Netflix too. It's just
that's not
we also got a cast for Spring Breakers 2, which is going to be directed. So it's not going to be.
Wait, is Harmony Korine?
No. Directed by Matthew Bright, coming out of retirement. Basically, he hasn't directed a film in forever. It's going to be starring Bella Thorne, who's the only person I know in this name. I guess True Whitaker also. I've heard that name. Ariel Martin, Grace Van Dien.
She's
Stranger
Things.
Yeah,
so you know her from that.
Okay.
Spring Breakers 2.
But gonna be awful. I like
this might be the worst movie ever made. Just
I'm out. I hate Spring Breakers. I think I'm the
I like
Spring Breakers is good, man.
That's what you guys always say. I haven't seen it in a very, very long time, but
how do you know you hate it? Watch it again.
I like Spring Breakers. This movie is going to be awful. Just terrible. So,
I'm like a bit of a Harmony Korine hater. No, I don't really like him. But Spring Breakers is cool.
I mean, he's one of the most polarizing guys there is. But yeah, I'm not. This is not a huge Harmony Korine guy personally either. But and then we talk about the Batman 2. Not hear much about it. First full draft of the script is apparently expected next weekend. and Matt Reeves have been sending pages of the script for more than half a year to DC Warner Brothers. This news seems like a just sign of life. Like they're like, please tell us something. Where people are getting a little worried out here, Matt. Give us something to tell people so they have hope.
We're back.
But yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully that means something's gonna happen with that soon. But as we keep talking about, Robert Pattinson keeps getting cast and stuff. Zoe Kravitz keeps getting cast and things. So finding the schedule. Hopefully it all works out. And then finally, Max is now HBO Max again. We'll end on that.
I don't know.
But a shout out to our executive producers as always, Stefan Johnson, Cody Whitney, and Cole Beaver. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Make sure you go in the description down below to find information on 10 dates and how you can support the movie from K Meeks.
Go support.
And our friends. K Meeks, where else can people find you?
Every platform pretty much is either K Meeks or K Meeks Film, TikTok, YouTube sometimes, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's it pretty much. Twitter. And go check out 10 dates.
K Meeks, look into my eye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, on Thursday, we will be continuing our best actors tier list, which everyone loves. And then on Friday, our Patreon review is going to be for Tombstone, which I believe is a movie Haley Steinfeld was nominated for an Oscar when she was like,
wasn't that 19? You're on about True Grit.
Yeah. True Grit. Yep, got them confused. If you can't tell, I haven't watched Tombstone yet for our review, so you can't tell from that.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know who all watched it. I watched it when you guys were talking Final Destination.
We did not talk Final Destination for Tombstone length,
bro.
You did
2 times speeded it.
You
2 times speeded it.
I was already 30 minutes in, to be fair, but I did watch it. You watched it. You talked for an hour and a half.
Yeah,
fair. I don't know what the runtime of Tombstone just sounds like a 2.5 hour movie.
Minutes.
Yeah,
2 hours 9 minutes.
Next week will be our Mission Impossible episodes. Stay tuned for that. But Kevin, thank you for joining us and helping carry the Final Destination portion. Best of luck in your own podcast you're about to record. But everyone else, we will see you on Thursday for the Real Quick. Peace.